It is so changeable, and you're always learning new things.
I hope everyone is doing wonderful today.
Thank you, we are. How about you?
I am very well, thank you, thank you.
Are you in your bed or sleeping?
Oh, no, I'm focused. I'm here. And I've been doing a lot already. So, but no, I'm good. It might be outside, it's a little gloomy, but no, I'm well.
It is.
It is a little bit gloomy, but we'll make up for that with all the sunshine I'm gonna give you guys.
There it is.
So get going.
It's already better, I like it.
Okay, so we will give 2 more minutes, maybe 3, because I want to make sure everyone's here for this. Good morning, Miss Madison.
We can never hear her.
No, she'll say hello every now and then, and she's definitely there, but yeah, she's not on Zoom, just a little YouTube action for now, but you guys will meet
Are
her
you like live
when
stream?
we are role playing. You guys will get a chance to switch it up, and we'll move around so you can get a little bit of goodness from everyone. Well, maybe not everybody, because it's a lot of you guys, but we will definitely get a chance to interact, and you'll see how you'll learn so much here from everybody. It'll be a beautiful thing.
This is the most important thing, to see if you're eligible for any of the 2020 state approved. And that state approved. I love that. I would never thought of that. And you know what? Even though it kind of sounds like it's misleading in a way, it's really not misleading. Because this is insurance, and because the state wants people to have final expense policies, so the state doesn't have to pick it up and pay it for you.
Yeah.
It's actually
So you
saving.
wouldn't have to go through that whole licensing process and registering if they weren't monitoring it.
Well, no, it saves the government money. You know what I mean? They don't have to pay to bury somebody. You've got your own life insurance, and so really, it is a state approved program. However, you know, I mean,
No, something's not good.
That's my lotion.
I know that's don't tell me it's a Bath and Body Works.
Victoria's Secret.
Okay, because I wear Bath and Body Works
Velvet petals.
and I wear
Ooh,
the very
yes,
sexy
yes,
noir.
yes, yes, yes. Mhm.
That's why I'm like, hold on, I know that.
I know that song.
Yes, because they both have like those undertones, which lets you know it's one or the other. Yeah,
Mhm.
I think Bath and Body Works is just like more like fruity. I think they're
Yes,
more for like younger ladies.
yes.
And the Victoria's Secret
It's
is
more for like the older,
sultry,
like,
just
yes.
sexy. Yes,
Mhm.
girl. Yes.
You know it.
Yes.
I mean, sultry.
Ooh, you brought in the sultry. Did we not see the little cage top like that? Oh, ooh, yes, do it.
I
Okay.
got one. On a leopard
sultry?
shoes. I feel like I should give you my scarf now.
The Victoria's Secret velvet petals, like it's really just sultry,
Yeah.
sensual. Like
What is it?
it's a.
Oh, I'm thinking it's petals and the.
Oh no! Okay, that-
That's how y'all got on the subject.
Yeah.
Good morning, good morning, good morning.
Good morning.
All right. So I hope everyone feels good today.
Did you get my email? I finally pulled up my license.
It worked fine
That's
at home.
Gotcha.
Yeah, actually.
All right. So we are going to.
I'm like, I'm here now.
Oh, well, Crystal, let's see, we
I
got
know
you.
it.
What the-
Let's focus, let's focus, let's focus. There's a lot of us in here, so we'll do some house cleaning real quick to get the day started. It is a lot of us in here, so we want to make sure that we can get through training as smoothly as possible. I don't know if you guys realize it, but naturally, your first week of work is like an extended interview. So how we interact as a group, as a team, all of those things are being looked at, obviously. So let's be mindful of that. Let us make sure that we're focused. We're learning. Everybody's learning. Everyone's new. I'm not new. I know. I know this. So let us make sure that we are mindful of the fact that everyone's learning. Everyone's learning at different paces. Everyone understands differently. So questions, I will take them when you're called on. As far as just side conversations, let's eliminate that altogether. If I'm talking, you should be talking. If there's a video playing, you shouldn't be talking. If we are listening to a call, you shouldn't be talking. So let's try to make sure we flow through the week, this week and next week. You guys all have amazing personalities. That's why you're here. So you will be able to give all that goodness. As interesting as your stories are, I'm sure you'll have a chance to do that when you're talking with your clients, you're building rapport. So all of that goodness, just hold on to it. Just hold on to it so we can make it through training expeditiously and get the most out of it. So
Speaking of, do we have, on the email you sent, it was week 1 training hours. Is it going to be the same for next week?
week 2, we will move a little closer to a 9:30 to a 4:30, and then by the end of the week will be 9 to 5:30, 9 to 5. Friday we'll probably do 9 to 4. It just depends on how we progress, but traditionally, moving forward out of training, business hours are 9 to 5:30. So the last part of the week may be very close to that, but by week 3, 9 to 5:30. So I will let you guys know at the beginning or the end of this week specifically what dates and what times for this week. Yes. All right. So everyone should have their script. Yes. Okay. So it's a lot, we know, but it's some really good stuff. So we will start the morning by reading through the script. I will read it throughout the script. I will call on you to respond. Just a yes or no is fine. We're not trying to challenge sales tactics. We're just trying to get through the script. And we will do a very thorough. No,
It's like something
No.
tells me somebody about
So,
to make me have to rebut.
let us make sure not on this one. We really want to get through it. Because we will do a very, very deep dive on each mod, because right now it's just words. Question.
Will we get to take this home?
Yes, the script is yours. Take it home. As of, I believe, tomorrow, you guys will have your laptops, maybe even today, hopefully today, but by tomorrow, you guys will have your laptops and have a soft copy of the script and most everything in your binders. But you will have your script. So yes, get comfortable with them, mark them up, take notes, whatever have you, inside of your binders. And Ms. Madison, I know I sent you the soft copy, but your actual binder inserts are on their way to you. But as we go through the mods, probably the second half of the day, you'll go through them, and there are notes and there are places for you to take notes for each mod. But you can write on the script as well. It's yours.
Can I just write in my tablet?
Whatever works for you. I
Okay,
know
so I'll
everybody
have to write
has
on those.
their own learning style, so just get it, soak it up. This is literally your little Bible to being the best you that you can be here. So make it sound like you. Yes, the words are there, but you want to make it yours so that it sounds conversational versus sounding like you're reading. So yeah, take it home, turn it upside down, read it backwards, get comfortable with the script.
Okay.
So we'll start at the top. The call will come through. Hi, this is Maureen with the Final Expense Department. And they will transfer the call. The transfer is pretty standard. They will give you the name, client information, and then we'll break this all down, but we'll just do a dry run through it. Hi Karen, I'm so glad to assist you with your quote today and to let you know the call may be recorded for quality and training purposes. To see if you are eligible for any of the 2020 state approved final expense programs 2021. So I have not gone through the scripts yet, but it is 2021. And we will make minor updates to the script, that being one of the major changes. And it'll probably take me 3 times to say that wrong before I get that word 2021 now. But state approved final expense programs, I just need to ask a few quick medical questions to determine the level of coverage you qualify for. And Ms. Karen, I show your age is 25, of course there'll be at least 50, with a date of birth of 2/2 of 92, is that correct?
Mhm.
All right. So we'll get the 2 COVID questions out of, we're gonna reel it back in. We're gonna get these 2 COVID questions knocked out first and then move into the traditional medical questions. Now, within the last 30 days, has a medical professional administered a test on you for coronavirus for which you tested positive or for which results are not yet known, or recommended that you be tested but testing has not yet been done?
No.
All right, within the last 30 days, have you been subject to a government mandated quarantine or isolation order or been advised by a medical professional to self-quarantine due to suspected coronavirus or exposure to someone who's been exposed or diagnosed with coronavirus?
No.
All right, and they must answer no to both of the COVID questions, or you call back in 30 days when they are able to say no. And how tall are you?
5'5".
All right, and how much do you weigh?
Really?
Yes, now when you address these concerns, you say it very professionally, typically they roll right into it. You can make a little bit of a, but
Where are you at?
page 3.
Oh, you see it, page 2.
Oh,
These
okay.
kids are-
Yeah, yeah.
So
We're trying to figure out, you just, at the
my
end
health
of page
questions
1.
are gone. All right, so I was just gonna say, I'll freestyle it because I think that I do remember most of this, but have you currently or in the last 30 days been hospitalized, committed to a psychiatric facility, confined to a nursing facility, received hospice or home health care, been confined to a wheelchair due to disease, or are you awaiting an organ transplant?
No.
All right, do you require human assistance or supervision with eating, dressing, toileting, transferring from bed to chair, walking, maintaining continence, or bathing?
No.
Okay, now within the last 12 months, have you been advised to have a diagnostics test other than an HIV test, surgery, home health care, or hospitalization, which has not yet started, been completed, or for which results are unknown?
No.
All right, have you used or been advised to use oxygen equipment for assistance in breathing, excluding a CPAP machine or nebulizer?
No.
All right, have you had or been advised to have kidney dialysis?
No.
Okay, have you ever been diagnosed or treated for acquired immune deficiency syndrome, AIDS, and or human immunodeficiency virus, HIV?
No.
Okay, have you ever been diagnosed or received treatment for Alzheimer's, dementia, Lou Gehrig's disease, ALS, or cirrhosis of the liver stage C?
No.
Okay, now have you ever been diagnosed with more than one occurrence of the same or different type of cancer, or are you receiving treatment, including taking medication for any form of cancer, excluding basal squamous cell skin cancer?
No.
All right, and how tall are you?
5'7".
And how much do you weigh?
140.
All right, and we are going to check the height and weight chart at that point, and as long as they fall within the requirements, you proceed. If any of the above answers are yes, the client does not qualify for prosperity, and there is call dismissal verbiage.
Oh.
I am so glad, now if they do answer no, which we hope, I'm so glad you can answer no to all the knockout questions. That is great. Thank you. Now, these final expense programs have been approved by the state of Florida to help families against the rising cost of funeral arrangements and final expenses in general. Now that I know a little bit about your health, I'll be better equipped to help with options, eligibility, cost, and level of benefits that you qualify for. Now, because these are state-approved final expense plans, they are set up to work directly with banks and credit unions. Now, Miss Andrea, I do not need your personal information now, of course, but you do at least have an active savings or checking account set up at a physical bank or credit union, correct?
Yes.
And that's not one of those prepaid cards or the government benefit reloadable cards like NetSpend or Direct Express, right?
Correct, yes.
All right. And you are responsible for your own personal finances, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now, do you have a pen and paper handy?
Yes.
All right, because I want to provide you with some important information. Again, my name is Maureen, and my national producer number is 1-859-5634. And that number is very important because it lets you know that I am appointed and licensed by the state of Florida to talk to you about these state-regulated final expense life and burial protection programs. So I am not a telemarketer or an operator. I don't work for any one insurance company. I am a state licensed agent that works for you. So, Miss Helen, I know that you are going to need my help applying for these Florida regulated final expense plans. So I want to tell you a little bit about them, how to apply, and then you can let me know what to do from there, okay? All right, now a lot of people don't even know that these types of policies exist, and they are very excited to find out just how simple and affordable they are. Now, the final expense benefits, they are small, affordable, permanent, whole life insurance policies that are regulated by the state of Florida, and they're designed for people living on fixed or limited incomes, like Social Security and disability. Now, I've even had the honor of serving some of our disabled veterans. But even if you don't fall in any of these categories, these policies are designed so that any income level can have something affordable for their loved one's protection. So these plans are permanent, which means once you have coverage in place, they can never change. These policies do pay out within 48 hours and will probably be the first money your loved ones see when the time comes. So, Andrea, if we get you qualified today, I will have a package mailed out to you in 3 to 5 days. That way you have everything that we talk about today in black and white, okay? All right, now I've been doing this for a while, and my objective is to find you the top tier benefits based on your age and your health. So I don't work for the insurance company, I work for you. And my role is to find you the absolute best solution out of everything that's available. If we can get you qualified, your benefits will be secure for your family by applying for them over the telephone without even spending any money today, okay? All right. Now, as a state licensed agent, it is my responsibility, and maybe the best part of my job is getting to know a little bit about you so that I can determine the best possible company, the best plan, and of course, the best price available for you here in Florida, even if you've ever been turned down before. Now, Ms. Toy, have you ever been turned down or denied coverage in the past?
No, ma'am.
Okay, and how long have you been looking into life insurance?
For about the last 9 months or so.
Well, you could not have fallen into better hands. And then we move into the fact find. Easiest thing to start out with, and again, the building report section, we're going to spend about 10 or 15 minutes in this mod. We will not spend 10 or 15 minutes in this mod right now. When you guys role play, you do want to get used to that. But again, 10 to 15 minutes is the ideal amount of time to spend in the mod to kind of gauge where you are. So you want to be leaving out of this mod about 20 to 22 minutes out into the call, and you'll see the timer going. So How long have you lived in the beautiful state of Florida, which is an easy one to go into since you've mentioned the state several times, and you do want to mention their specific state every time that you do that. Again, we'll go into detail why moving forward. Were you born there? These are suggested questions. You do not have to read them verbatim, but they are a good kind of point of reference as to the types of things that you want to ask, and even the order that you want to kind of present them, because you want to finish mod 2 asking about family, and you'll see why as we move forward. So, how long have you lived there? What's your favorite thing about the state? Those rapport building questions are great here. What brought you to the state? You're going to provide them with some a story as well, but you want to make sure that they're talking. You don't want to just be talking just because. How about employment? Are you working, retired, disabled? If they're retired, praise them for retiring from a job. It takes a lot to be able to be retired. Tell them that you're jealous, whatever, but you want to make sure that you acknowledge whatever it is they're saying. Ask follow-up questions as well. How long? How are you enjoying retirement? Was your disability work-related or health? What do you do in your free time? Do you travel, TV, outdoor hobbies? We're building rapport here. Are you married, single, divorced? How long? Some people are very happy about divorce, some people not so much, so be careful with that. But you want to ask these questions because you want to get to know your client. What is their name? Where did you meet? What does your spouse do for work? These are questions that we're asking to build rapport, yes, but also to have some insight on the your client's period, so that you know what's going on with them. Do you have kids? This is a hot spot. Have kids? How many? Ages? Their names? Grandkids? They love talking about grandkids. What are their names? Is there anyone that you're closest with, or who's your favorite? If they do not have kids, we'll go into that more, but you want to ask these questions, and then you're going to insert your certainty and decision statement here. Building rapport throughout the call. I can see why getting final expense protection is an important decision to you. I certainly love my family, and making sure that they're protected is very important to me too. You're amazing. I feel like I know you, which is good, because if we get approved, you're stuck with me for life. So death do us part. They love that. They will laugh, and we will proceed. So here's what I can tell you about these state-approved final expense programs in Florida. As you probably know, taking a medical exam is usually mandatory to get the best plans and the lowest rates. But because these are special state-regulated programs in Florida, one of the best parts is there are no physical medical exams required like with most larger policies. So I just have a few basic health questions to really see if you qualify. The first set were knockout questions, but these will determine the cost and the level of benefit you may be eligible for to truly see if we can get you approved and who we can get you approved through. Okay, Ms. Crystal?
Okay.
All right. Now, they do check our answers against what's called the Medical Information Bureau, or MIB, which is an insurance database that records any health questions you've ever answered, your prescription history, if you've ever applied for coverage in the past, or if you've ever gone to the hospital. So it is important that you answer these questions as openly and as honestly as possible, because the more information I know about your health, the more benefits I may be able to get you qualified for. Okay?
Okay.
All right. Now, Miss Susan, have you smoked any cigarettes in the past 12 months?
No, ma'am.
Okay, wonderful. Love that. Now, in the past 2 years, Miss Susan, have you been diagnosed or received treatment from a member of the medical profession or practitioner, or been hospitalized? So you'll see the underlined words. Those are typically what I actually read versus the entire thing, because it does get wordy. Once you call over to underwriting, after all of this, you call underwriting, they will verbatim read everything. So again, the underlying pieces are typically what I read, which is for the most part all of it, but it just takes out some of the redundancies. For any of the following: the use of alcohol or drugs, or been advised by a physician, practitioner, health facility, or counselor to restrict the use of alcohol or drugs?
No.
Okay. Any complications of diabetes, such as diabetic coma or insulin shock, or have you had an amputation due to complications of any disease?
No.
All right. heart attack, angina, chest pain, congestive heart failure, cardiomyopathy, stroke, transient ischemic attack, TIA, aneurysm, or have you had heart or circulatory surgery?
No.
You want to make sure that you are clear in pronouncing all of these words. So get comfortable with this part as you are practicing and going through it. Make sure that you get clear. And as we role play, I'll make sure that you guys have a good understanding of the pronunciation of them. In the past 3 years, have you been diagnosed, treated, or prescribed medication by a member of the medical professional for internal cancer, including but not limited to malignant brain tumor, malignant melanoma, leukemia, but excluding basal squamous cell skin cancer, leukemia, or multiple myeloma?
No.
Okay, in the past 2 years, have you had more than one conviction for reckless driving or for driving under the influence of alcohol or drugs, DUI or DWI?
No.
All right, now in that first section, which is the blue section, or part B, part A is the first set of knockout questions. Part B, which is that set, if they answer yes, then it means that they would qualify for modified, and we will talk about that further later, but that section in itself would take them one way when it comes to rates. If they answer yes. Have you ever been diagnosed, treated, or prescribed medication by a member of the medical profession for the following: Parkinson's disease, systemic lupus, SLE, or sickle cell anemia?
No.
Okay, cirrhosis of the liver stage A or B, chronic hepatitis B or C, or other liver disorder or kidney failure or any other chronic kidney disease?
No.
All right, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, COPD, which includes emphysema, black lung disease, or tuberculosis?
No.
All right, bipolar disorder or schizophrenia, or been hospitalized in the past 2 years for any mental or nervous disorder?
No.
All right, now again, in that section, part C or the green section, if any of those questions are yes, the proposed insured may be eligible for the graded plan. If all questions in part A, B, and C are no, the proposed insured may be eligible for the level benefit. Now, lastly, Ms. Susan, do you know which medications you're currently taking, or do you need to grab those real quick?
I'm not taking any medication.
Okay, okay,
Make it easy.
all right. Now, what about in the line? We'll check the prescription provider here, and it will let you know. We'll deep dive into that again. And after you check the prescriptions, then you move forward. Now, Ms. Susan, are there any other prescriptions you've been prescribed, or any prescriptions at all? I know you're not currently taking any, but anything that you've been prescribed in the past 5 years, even if you never took them, or if you only took them for a short time, any inhalers or anything at all?
Nothing.
Okay.
I believe I know, but nothing.
Well, we just want to make sure that there aren't any surprises when it comes to the MIB. But okay, thank you very much. I know those questions can be kind of lengthy, and I think I have all the information I need. I'm not going to make any promises, but I am going to do everything that I can to try to get you approved for one of the best programs available. Just do me a favor and don't hold it against me if I can't, okay?
Okay.
All right. Now, Ms. Hannah, because these are special plans for people within the state of Florida, your total coverage is not able to exceed what they consider to be reasonable needs. So we can't go applying for $100,000 or anything like that. We're not trying to make the kids rich. These plans are designed to give your family enough money so that they don't have to bear the financial burden of paying for your final arrangements. Now, have you ever had to pay for a funeral, or been around anyone trying to come up with funds to pay for a funeral?
Yes, I have.
Oh, goodness. I am so sorry to hear that. Good. Whose funeral was it?
A relative that died suddenly. No one was prepared. They were kind of young.
Now, did you have the money to cover it?
What they decided to do was to simply build the coffin themselves and bury the person on the property.
Wow. So how did it feel to have to worry about or even think about finances at a time like that?
It was the most horrible experience they said that they've ever had to go through, washing the body and preparing it
Mm.
and building the coffin.
So, goodness. Tell me more when you are actually in the call. We're again just reading through for the sake of going through the script, but you get them to tell more. You're a strong person to have gone through that. I know having to have paid for a funeral like that, I can certainly tell why your decision to put coverage in place for your loved ones is so important to you. If she were to have answered no, then you respond, I'm so glad you've never been in that situation before, and then you present the story about being in a situation where that was the case. And we will break into stories, we'll go into that very much. We'll do a heavy deep dive into storytelling, because stories are very, very, very important. Then you transition back into the script. Grief and mourning is hard enough without adding the financial burden on top of everything else. So let me ask you, do you feel like it is your responsibility to cover your final expenses?
Yes.
That says a lot about your character. That is awesome. I love that you feel that way. That really does say a lot about you as a person and as a mother. And I'm sure that John will feel special knowing that you put coverage in place ahead of time. Now, I know that they would try to figure it out if they had to, but how do you think they'd feel, Miss Andrea, if you don't have any coverage in place?
Horrible.
Yeah, yes, I mean, that, to say the least, yes. And it's not only expensive to live, but it's expensive to die too. The cost of living and dying just keeps going up like everything else. You have flowers, programs, funeral home rentals, the rising and lowering of the casket, traveling, taking time off of work. You want to touch on these things. You can elaborate on some, but you do want to touch over some. You don't have to go through all. Now, have you given thought as to whether you'd like to be buried or cremated?
Cremated.
Okay, and you go into it, talk more, extract. Is covering your final expenses your main objective today, or would you like to leave a little bit extra behind for your loved ones? Whatever the response is, you're mentally taking these notes. Now, when that day comes, I'm guessing that Mahogany will be the one covering or handling your final arrangements. And this is where you would bring up whomever they've mentioned before in Mod 2. You want to, again, that active listening and be able to use the people that they are close to in these examples or in these statements. Now, if they have coverage, discuss other policy info here and not before. You don't want to bring up or ask about, even if they tell you previously that they have coverage, and we'll go into how to acknowledge and pivot back to the script, but you want to deep dive at this point. You want to ask questions. How long have you had it? Who is it with? How much are you paying for that? You want to get information here. Don't be afraid to ask about their other policies, because if you do not, they will throw it in your face at the end when you try to get them coverage. So, and then you recap. Okay, I'd like to recap just to make sure I have everything in order. So you've told me that you don't have any coverage in place at the moment. If they do, you have such and such policy in place at the moment, and you want to make sure that Johnny isn't left having to pay for your funeral. So let me ask, if God forbid something were to happen to you today, would Johnny have 10 or 15,000 to pay for your funeral? What do you think he'd have to do to cover it? Quick pause, and then you jump in. You don't want them, you want them to think a little bit, but you do want to, okay, you know what? Johnny isn't going to be in that situation because we are talking today and we are making sure we take care of it right now. And I thank you for sharing these things with me. You have such a big heart. It really shows the kind of person you are, thinking ahead about those you love so that they will never be left in the difficult position of having to figure out how to pay for your final expenses. I'm going to do everything that I can to help Miss Mary. We don't have a Mary, but we'll keep moving. So this is where you start pulling quotes. If you have not already. Mod 5, we always say, is the easiest mod and the first mod. If you're going to memorize anything, Mod 5 would be the mod that you want to memorize, because it's basic benefits of whole life policies. But anyone that does not know about whole life policies, these are big. So we are presenting them as Prosperity Life benefits, but really most good whole life policies have these types of benefits if they're good. So I should have our coverage options back any second, but in the meantime, let me give you some information on the company I'm really hoping to get you approved with. The name of the company is Prosperity Life. The product is called New Vista. Now, in my professional opinion, they're the best in the business when it comes to final expense. They've been in business for over 100 years and have an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau and an excellent rating with America's Best. And maintaining that rating is not an easy thing to do. But I truly believe this is the #1 final expense product on the market right now, and I've seen quite a few. Now, if you are pitching something else, whenever you guys do have access, then of course you would input that information here, but we're going Prosperity. Now, I'll be honest, it's not easy to get an approval with them, but my fingers are crossed. If we do get approved, there are a few amazing features that come along with this plan that I believe add a lot of value. And I'll list them briefly while we wait for these approvals to come in. So go ahead and jot these benefits down. They're pretty important. Now, I know I've mentioned this one before, but it's worth saying again. Go ahead and write down permanent whole life insurance. This policy will stay with you your whole life and can never be canceled on you due to age or illness. Once you act, you are covered forever. And I know you agree that's a valuable benefit, right? Yes. Now, the second major benefit is price lock. So if approved, the cost of these policies will never be any less than it is today. If we can get you approved and take action, the price of this coverage can also never be increased on you. Now, many people don't realize that a lot of the plans advertised on TV or that come in the mail or sometimes even from banks, they have hidden features where the rates go up every few years or the rates stay the same and the policy amount decreases. And even worse, some have it to where if you are blessed to live past the age of 75, the companies will drop your coverage altogether. Now, I don't know about you, Miss Crystal, but I don't want to have to die before a certain age to make sure that my policy is good and my family actually gets paid. And I'm sure you're with me with those first two benefits.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Now, the third major benefit of this plan, you can write down, it builds cash value. So this is your money, and it always will be. As you pay your premium, the policy acts like a little savings account building up over time. So should you find yourself in an emergency and in need of some cash, you'll be able to borrow against the cash value that's built up. I don't recommend doing this, of course, but it's just a little extra peace of mind to know that it's there if you absolutely need it. Make sense?
Yes.
All right. Now, along with your policy information, Prosperity will be sending you a free Final Wishes pre-planning guide that can act as your living will and testament. My clients love this because it allows them to itemize exactly what their final wishes are, which eliminates a lot of potential confusion and frustration at a time that your loved ones are mourning. Not to mention, Prosperity provides at no additional monthly charge an accelerated death rider. That's not available in California. Now, with this, and you're not saying this, but this is a note to you. With this, 50% of your policy is paid out to you prior to your death if at any point you are medically diagnosed with a terminal medical condition. There is also an accidental death rider, and we'll go into when this would be available, but it's not for anybody over 75, but again, we will talk about that more once we talk about Prosperity. But there's an accidental death rider, which may add a few dollars a month to your premium, but the value in it is that it doubles the face value of your policy if death were to happen due to an accident. Now, any of these features and benefits you guys will see that you want to go in. If it's one that you know they mentioned before, you want to talk about it a little more. Again, this is the easiest and probably the first that you're going to want to memorize. We'll talk about it more, but anything that they have mentioned, we want to give them a little bit of personalization to why this policy is going to work for them specifically. Lastly, and I personally believe this benefit is super valuable, you have me. So I am your agent for life. I take a lot of pride and a lot of passion into servicing my clients. So you'll have my direct contact information, and I'm here if ever you need, at any time you ever need it. Now, again, these policies are paid out within 48 hours and will probably be the first money that your loved ones receive. Now, do you have any questions, Miss Susan? You have any questions for me before the approval decisions come over?
Not that I can think of.
Okay, so I'm doing my job well. Okay, wonderful. Here is where you want to uncover directly addressed objections. Response blocking is huge, and we will spend time talking about response blocking. Response blocking is active listening at its finest, but it's where you take things that they have mentioned previously and you address them as potential concerns or objections that they may address, but you want to speak on them in ways you want to speak on them before they have a chance to address them. But we'll deep dive for sure into response blocking. A lot of the script is written in a manner that kind of has built-in response blocking, but being able to think about things in a certain way and again actively listening to address things before they are brought up is huge. And they may just state an objection, but even if they don't, if it's something that you feel that they may bring up, you want to bring it up first. And you want to do that before you start pulling quotes. If you are trying to overcome objections after you've given them prices, you've lost. More than likely, that's not going to fall. So you want to address things prior to money being talked about, because at that point, they've heard what they need to hear, they're out of there. So do not be afraid to spend more time building trust, rapport, if you feel like it is needed. Everything in the sale happens in mod 5 and before. Mod 6 is presenting information and closing the deal out in mods after. So anything that you're going to be doing prior to mod 5 is where the sale actually happens. Now, what feature do you see the biggest value in? If we can get you approved, is there anything that we haven't covered that would stop you from locking in your policy today? Like, are you currently traveling with the circus? So cheese, we have cheese built in. And we'll go into why once we break down mod 5, but that's a big one. Now real quick, I do want to give you my personal contact number so that you can reach me at any time. Do you still have that pen and paper handy? Now, my number is 888-515-1266. This is the actual office number. If I'm on a call with another client, that will ring straight through to our account manager, and I'll get the message and call you back at the first moment I become available. You can also provide your cell number if you're choosing to do so, or a Google number, which we will discuss moving forward if you guys want to set up a Google number. Now, my fingers are crossed here. I usually get the answers back on the approval by now, so it should come through any moment. Now, keep that pen and paper close, all right? Because if we get approved, typically they give me 3 different coverage amounts with the approval, and I want you to write them down so that we can review them together and see which one best serves you. No one comes out weekly or monthly knocking on your door to collect premiums like they did in the old days, and there are also no credit checks like there used to be for the immediate issue programs like this. We follow the same schedule as Social Security and Disability, and this is if they're receiving benefits. We follow the same schedule as Social Security and Disability. That way the premium won't come out until the day your benefits are in your account, to make sure you never have to worry about missing it and losing your coverage. Your policy lapses, none of that. Your benefits hit, your premium is paid, and your policy is good. Now, if they are employed or not receiving Social Security or Disability, you let them know. You select any day between now and 2 weeks from now, and your premium will be paid each day on the same date you specify. You can suggest, and this is a note to you, this isn't anything that you're reading to them, but you can suggest the 1st or 15th for anyone working. These are typically easy dates to remember. And then you hit them with the, okay, yes, congratulations, Miss Hannah, the approval just hit my screen, and it looks like you're qualified for the top tier program, the modified program. Ooh, it is always a relief to see this approval screen. Okay, so As a new customer, I first and foremost want to make sure we find something that is affordable and comfortable for you right now, because you may not qualify for these plans or rates again if you were to get sick or get hurt. And Ms. Hannah, these premiums will never be any cheaper than they are right now, especially with all the additional benefits included. Remember, this is permanent whole life, it is price locked, and it builds cash value. So make sure you write these 3 options down and we'll figure out what works best from there. I'm just so glad we were able to get approved with Prosperity. So they give us a high, a middle, and a low. I'll start with the high and go from there. The first approval amount we have is for $25,000 worth of coverage, which doubles to $50,000 in the event of an accidental death, and that is only $100 a month. Now, the second amount that we were approved for is $20,000 worth of coverage, which doubles to $40,000 in the event of an accidental death, which is only $75 a month. And the third amount that we were approved for is $15,000 worth of coverage, and $15,000 worth of coverage doubles to $30,000 in the event of an accidental death, which would only run you $62 a month. So tell me, Miss Hannah, which amount would you want for Johnny to receive when the time comes? A check for $25,000, a check for $20,000, or a check for $15,000?
I think I'm going to take the one for $15,000.
That is an excellent choice. I know for certain that your decision is really going to have a positive impact on Johnny when the time comes and he needs it the most. So go ahead and circle that one. I just need to confirm your information and lock this approval in place. I'm really just so happy we were even able to get approved with Prosperity. And what is your middle initial? Now, if she is hesitant and has not picked an amount, or she's thinking about it, then you would go with response number blue. So tell me, I'll tell you what, let's go with option number 3. Go ahead and circle that one. It's the lowest price option, and this is a big decision, but our main goal today is to lock some coverage in place and take advantage of this approval while we have it. We can always add more coverage later if you choose to. So I just need to confirm your information and lock this approval in place. So again, circle that $15,000. I'm so happy we got the approval with Prosperity. So you would go low. You're not trying to go low. We'll go low. Now, if you go low and they're like, I need to. Okay. Now, this is not always available, but let me see if there are any hardship options available. Let me talk to my supervisor. This is just you giving them a pause and giving them a chance to, and giving yourself a chance to lock in an option. And we'll talk about the whole quoting logic once we get to this mod, but put them on pause and come back with something. Anytime you pick your 3 quotes, you don't want to go to the bottom, because then when you come back with the hardship option, you're shooting yourself in your foot if you can't go any lower than the low option. So you come back on brief hold. Now for you, what I can do to make sure we can take advantage of this approval, it looks like there is $10,000 worth of coverage, which still doubles to $20,000 in the event of an accidental death, and that's only $50 a month. So go ahead and write that one down and circle that. And I just need to confirm your information and lock this approval in place. I'm so happy we got approved with Prosperity. Again, we're assumptively selling, so we're moving forward like this is great. There's no reason to do anything except move forward with this, because this is a wonderful policy. We built it up, told them the features and benefits, and then we go into the data pool. What is your middle initial? That's why after each one, after you have them circle them out, what is the middle initial? They don't even realize that giving you the middle initial is them giving you the okay to move forward. If they answer that, then you proceed into the application. You'll have the rate calculator, you will hit next, and then you'll move into the application. Again, we will go into this once you guys have access to the Prosperity portal. You're going to look for all of these symbols, the exclamation marks. That's going to indicate the needed fields for the application. If it does not have an exclamation mark, you're not going to stress about completing it. You'll confirm the information already in agency block and move forward. So this information pre-populates when the call comes through. So you are just going to ask them, this is your correct legal name, first and last. The address I'm showing is this. The telephone number I have for you is this. And if you're making any corrections with the client, you're making the corrections in agency block as well. You verify their email address, and you send over a blank application link via text or email. We'll go into that at another time. The soft copy of the script will also give you links. You can click on it to have that available to you readily. Now, verbiage for social security number requests. This mod is pretty basic because it's just telling you how to go through the application, but you're really just going to be following along through the application with Prosperity's portal. There are two pertinent pieces of information as far as how to request the social security number and the banking information. Everything else in the application you'll already know. You're confirming the address, you're confirming information. You know that it's missed because the whole time she's been telling you she's not married. You know the beneficiary because you guys have talked about it, the guy that she loves the most, the son that she's the closest to. Even in the application, it'll give options for more than one beneficiary, contingent beneficiaries as well. Being assumptive that you know everything that is required. If she has a husband and 2 kids, so we're gonna put Johnny as primary beneficiary and put the kids as contingent, right? Move forward with it. If you give most of the time they will just move along with you and agree with you. If there's something that they object, they will clearly let you know, no, I actually want to do it the other way around. So again, you're moving through it. The only things that you do not know for sure without confirming and verifying are the social and the bank account. So when requesting the social, the easiest way to do so is, and these 3 questions are on the first page of the app, but the order in which they're asked kind of makes it flow to where the natural response would be just to provide the social. So what state were you born in? All right, or I know you said you were born in Michigan, perfect. So you are a U.S. citizen, and what is your 9-digit social? Then you go back into the application and follow along the prompts when it comes to getting banking information. So now for your premium, you say premium, that is payment basically. So it lets them know, okay, now we're talking about money. If they are on Social Security or disability, so do you receive your benefits on the 1st, the 3rd, or on the 2nd or 3rd Wednesday of the month? Whatever their response is, you will move forward, okay? So your initial premium will be, if they said the 3rd, your initial premium will be on the 3rd of February and the 3rd of each month following, all right? We're not giving them options. We are letting them know we follow the same schedule. They get benefits and you try to get funds any day other than the date they receive their benefits. Probably shooting yourself in your foot. Anyone on a fixed or limited income, that is the day that you want to make sure that anything that you are trying to get them to pay you for is paid on that date.
What's the specific benefits?
Not yet, thank you. You already opened that one?
I did.
Oh, yes, please. Sorry, thank you. Oh, yes. What is the specified?
It says if specific benefits received on specific days, like based on pay or birthday. So it would have to be the day of the month
So
or the day of their birthday.
So if they receive on page 15, at the bottom of page 15, do you receive your benefits on the 1st, the 3rd, or on the 2nd or 3rd Wednesday of the month? So they typically receive it on the 1st or 3rd of the month. Some people receive their benefits on a Wednesday. If they receive it on a Wednesday, it's the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, or 4th Wednesday of the month. But Social Security determines which Wednesday it is by their birthday. So on the application, you would select based on pay or birthday. Instead of choosing a specific date, you choose based on pay or birthday. Once you input the birthday, it will let you know what Wednesday coincides with that birthday. Question?
To even clarify that a little bit more, You could have a
We'll go
spouse
with-
and a woman, and the spouse will get hers on a different date than the husband,
That may be
like
the
a
case.
the last Thursday of the month.
That may be the case. We'll deep dive into that. And once you know your client, you'll know to ask those questions. But typically it's the first or third. It's maybe 30% of the time it may be a Wednesday situation, but typically it's the first or third. But again, once we go through the actual apps and you see it, then we can deep dive a little bit more.
Thank you.
And that'll show up on your account as a charge from SBLI USA Life Insurance, which is the parent company of Prosperity Life. And what name is on your bank account or credit union, whichever they have. What name is on the bank that your premium will be drafted out of. So you're asking them about the name, you're asking about the bank, so it's natural that they're mentally preparing. They're answering these questions, we're moving forward as needed. Routing number first, it's a 9-digit number, and I can pull that for you if you don't have it handy, but the account number you'll have to provide. You can Google routing numbers if you know the bank name and the state that they opened it. That's public information. And after you have the routing number, now go ahead with that account number. If they cannot locate banking information, then this next section will help you help them. But your bank routing number is printed on statements, checks, and deposit slips, or through online banking. If you need a moment to grab something, I can hold for you. Or the routing number is a 9-digit number at the bottom left-hand corner, and we can again look that number up for them online to confirm once they have the routing. Lastly, I need to confirm your account number. Again, it can be found at the bottom of your checks or on a bank statement. Take your time. Just let me know when you have it, or the account number. This is just information on how to help them find it. By this point, you're just talking to them. By this point, you should know options for them to get to their banking information. These are just ways to help you understand how to help them get to the banking information. Perfect. Is that a checking or savings account? Make sure info is exactly as it appears on their bank account. So if it's checking or savings, you want to make sure you notate that. The address, you want to make sure that is the same as the banking information. There are 2 different address options in the application. Automatic premium loans, we always select yes. Beneficiary page is next, and you'll get the legal first name of the beneficiary or multiple beneficiaries, the relation to the insured, and the percentage of the proceeds, which are broken down. You'll get 1 beneficiary phone number, and you will put that in agency block as a second point of contact. Agent certification page is just you confirming your information. That information will be pre-populated. And you're going to want to make sure that you copy the applicable reference number. It must be provided to the underwriter, and it will disappear once you click OK. All of that will make sense once we go through the application, but notes in there are helpful. Now, the very last thing we need to do at this point, they are very excited because they're done. You're excited because you've gotten all the information you need. And the last portion of this is underwriting. So the very last thing we need to do is make a call over to the underwriting department for confirmation. When we call over to them, I'm going to start by providing them with some of my credentials for verification and some of your information. The underwriter will then ask to speak to you. They will read a disclosure recording for us quickly and get a verbal authorization from you. They will ask if you received a blank application link from your agent. You did. That's what I sent over. They don't need you to do anything with it. They just need to verify that you received it. If you haven't received the link, if you say you haven't received the link, they'll read all the disclosures to you one by one, adding about 10 minutes to the call. And I'm pretty sure you'd rather look it over on your own and save those 10 minutes of your life, right? Mm-hmm. Yes, wouldn't we all? So then the underwriter is going to reconfirm our answers to the medical questions. They're probably going to sound very formal and a little boring, but just like you've been with me throughout the entire call, be honest, of course. but only answer with a simple yes or no. There's no need to supply extra information. Yes or no's are perfect for this last portion. No extra stories or elaboration needed. If you have someone that's been very talkative, make sure they understand that. When we went through them, you had, and you want to touch on any yes answers they may have provided during the health questions, or simply make sure that they're clear that they were all no answers. It is very important that you keep your answers the same as the ones you gave me when we ran through them. Make sense? Great. So if they have any additional questions about medications that come up or what they've been prescribed for, a simple yes or no is fine for this response as well. The key is don't elaborate. All right. So they just need a clean response for the recording. You can provide a story to them about how giving too much information could get them denied.
That usually if someone is like talkative, like you say, so you don't only add a story if they're really, really talkative.
Or even if they're not, because sometimes they may just give too much information. What you would not want is for someone that's not talkative to decide to get talkative on the phone with the underwriter, and at that point, your hands are tied. So you can, and it can be quick and easy if you don't think that they need it, but you still want to touch on it. I had a client of mine that had all no answers, but then she wanted to give him extra information, confuse the underwriter, and then she ended up getting denied coverage. Something easy, just again, we'll touch on it and give some specifics. There are a couple good stories that we've used on the floor and a couple things that have happened on the floor that we'll talk about that you guys can use for underwriting prep. So it only takes a couple of minutes to complete, then you are permanently covered, and you can literally brag to your friends that you have the best final expense coverage that has ever been. Or don't. I mean, we don't want them coming after you for your policy, okay? So, and do me a favor, when they are done, don't hang up. Stay on the line with me so that I can make sure that you have all the information you need. I'll answer any last questions you have. I want to make sure that you have everything you need before we hang up, okay? So I'm calling over to them now, and you will call underwriting. You will introduce yourself to the underwriter. Hi, this is Maureen. I have a client on the line and a reference ID, and then the underwriter will take it from there. They'll ask you a couple of questions as far as the telephone number you're calling from. They will ask for your email address. They'll verify your writing number, which you'll have, but that information is pre-populated. They're not going to ask you for it. They're just going to verify that it's correct.
Excuse me, what happens right here at this point? What do you guys see and what kind of workarounds do you have for that?
In regards to what happens, this is a phone call over to underwriting.
Okay, am I getting to hear what the underwriter is saying to my client? Oh, perfect. Now,
It's a warm transfer. You're bringing the underwriter on the call with you.
okay, now, does the underwriter ever get flippant with me on that call? No?
You don't really speak to the underwriter except for when you introduce the
Yeah,
client.
you're gonna be professional, you're gonna be polite.
You're not gonna say anything.
Yeah, you're gonna be professional, you're gonna be polite, you're going to introduce the client to the underwriter, and then the underwriter takes over. That's why you do the underwriting prep, to prepare the client for what is to come, because once the underwriter starts talking, you do not wanna talk. You wanna let the underwriter take over. If there's a question that the client has, we want to address all of that. If there was a yes answer in the beginning of the script, you want to make sure that you ask all the questions around that so that there's nothing that comes up during underwriting that would cause any issues. But again, we'll definitely talk about that all in detail once we break down each mod. For the most part, the underwriting part is pretty straightforward. You're going to want to be present during that portion of the call, but you're not going to say much. You can let them know, if I ever jump in and say to the underwriter to re-ask a question, that may be, because sometimes they do tune the underwriters out. They get into the habit of just saying yes, no, and they may say no to something that should have been yes, or say yes to something that should have been no. Either way, if they say no to something that they told you was a yes answer, get them to correct it. Yes, it may get them bumped up to a higher level, but if they should not get a level benefit, you don't want them to go level on the call and you get excited because they answered something wrong. You don't want that to happen because the med history will come back or may come back. It may not come back, but still, ethically, you don't want it to be bumped up if you know they've told you something should be yes. And you also don't want it to go through and then it get pulled because they're like, well, something doesn't match with what it looks like here. So if they say yes and it should be no, tell them to re-ask. If they say no and it should be yes, tell them to re-ask. So be mindful of that because sometimes the clients are just like, I didn't even hear you. I was just, you know.
It happens.
Now the warm down, we will go through the warm down when we actually go through Mod 9, but that's you tying down everything that you've done. This may take you, on a good call, it'll be easily 2 hours, hour and a half. But it could be 2 hours, it could be more. But you're looking at about an hour and a half. Underwriting takes about 12 to 15 minutes, usually on average, unless the underwriter is very slow or the client's asking questions or there are a lot of questions that come up because of the med history. So you want to make sure that after all that's done and after they're done with underwriting, you've kind of gotten them hypnotized when up until underwriting. Underwriting is going to take them into it is a very boring, tedious, they're going to verify letter for letter if their name is spelled correct. They're going to go through very thoroughly because they're actually going through the application. We submit the application over to underwriting when we're clicking through, then they receive it and they're verifying everything. They're going through all the health questions. So that can take the client into a very state. You want to build them back up. So Mod 9, matter of fact, let me not brush over it because I don't want you guys to. We will talk about it again, but I'll read through it just so that you guys can know what it is that's being said because you want them to feel excited. You want to remind them of why they're on the line with you, what just happened, and you want to bring it all home. And again, you want to tie down everything that you've spent the last hour and a half doing. So after underwriting is completed, congratulations, Miss Andrea. You did a great job and you are covered as of now. I know putting this coverage in place is going to be a huge weight off your shoulders. So I'm always here for anything that you need. I'm going to have a welcome packet sent out to you today with a little recap of everything in your policy. That should be to you in 3 to 5 days. The policy will arrive in about 2 weeks after your initial premium is paid. Now, I have all my contact information that you wrote down today in that packet too. So if you have any questions or need anything at all, call me. Calling the insurance company can be tedious and time consuming, and I can usually get whatever answers or adjustments you need done much quicker. So if you need to make any changes that involve your payment, we need at least 72 hours advance notice. Otherwise, the change might not go into effect in time, okay? Make sure that they give you an okay, make sure that they understand what you are stating because we do need at least 72 hours to make any changes. Now, how do you feel about the decision that you've made today to protect Johnny Toy?
I feel great.
Good. I'm so glad I can help you make this happen. You've obtained some extremely valuable coverage today that not everyone is approved for, and Prosperity is making a commitment to you. And that is a commitment to have your funds to Mike when the time comes. I know that you're making a commitment and a sacrifice too, and that's a commitment to pay your premiums every single month. Now, write this down so that you'll remember. It'll show up it will show up as a monthly charge on your Bank of America account from SBLI USA Life Insurance for $52.71. Now, that's important information to remember. You did write it down, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So I don't want to send this policy out to you unless you're committing to pay your premiums every single month. Can you make that sacrifice for Mike from now moving forward?
Yes.
Great. Because this is your life insurance policy and you are committing to make these payments so that Mike does not have to suffer financially when you're gone. And I know you said that you want to make sure that he's able to grieve in peace and not have to stress about anything or have to use his money to pay for your funeral because he does have your grandkids. So And you want them to get them to verbalize why. So as you're saying stuff that they've already told you, they'll add in, yeah, because, so get them to reiterate why it is that they did it. Now, Toy, you can finally say that the shopping around is done today. Now, if you do receive anything in the mail or see anything on TV that sparks your interest, give me a call. Remember, till death do us part. So I'm so glad that we got you approved through Prosperity and found something that you can manage monthly. Oh, make sure that you make a copy, Toy, of your policy and give it to Mike. You can let him know that it has an accidental death rider. It is price locked, permanent whole life with the accelerated death benefit and the 48-hour payout. Because these are major benefits, and I want to make sure that you tell them how great this policy is. And it's okay that you let them know that you made a friend too, okay? All right. Now, if they want to talk to me, feel free to give them my number. I would love that. Maybe I could help their families too. So if you have any friends or family looking for a final expense, feel free to give them my info. The biggest compliment I get are referrals. So lastly, Ms. Twy, I want to make sure that you don't have any questions or concerns before we hang up. Is there anything you can think of?
No, ma'am.
Okay, awesome. And last time, Toy, you are sure that we're able to choose a premium that you can maintain month after month?
Oh, yes.
Okay. Okay. I always like to double and triple check. I like my clients to understand that aside from your rent or your mortgage and utilities, your life insurance is next in line because it's just as important. So make sure you write your payment down on your calendar so you can remember. Hey, really, I'm just happy that I could even help. Now, do you have any plans for the rest of the day, or what are your plans for the rest of the day? Spend 5 minutes, literally, just talking. Remind them of the fact that you spent the first 20 minutes of the call getting to know them. So I know you mentioned those puppies. I know they're about ready to eat. Are you going to take them for a walk? What is it that you have planned? Did you eat? I'm hungry myself. Just talk to them about anything that has nothing to do with life insurance. So you do that. By that time, they hang up. You should feel really good. There's after call work that you would do, but that is the process, or at least the words of the process. So those are the words, but the feeling and the purpose behind it is really what we are going to break apart, because some of it's like, why are you saying that? Or that's so corny, or that's a lot. It is literally all for a reason. And the people that do best here are the ones that literally just do the process, master the process, which is, again, not just the words on the script, but the purpose of each line. So we'll break that down more in detail. We'll let you guys take a break first, but we'll start breaking down the script a bit. How you guys feeling? I know that was
I love it.
good.
I love this script. It's great.
Questions, comments, concerns, hostilities? No? Okay.
We had enough of that yesterday.
We will not bring that into today or
Okay.
ever. So there's a culture that is here. There's a culture that is here that we are very serious about. We'll talk about mindset all the time. We'll talk about positivity all the time. We'll talk about attitude all the time, because that's really all that you have control over. Things will happen, good, bad, and ugly. The only thing you have control over is how you feel about it, how you respond to it. Typically, how you respond to things that happen say more about you than the thing itself, because things will always happen. So we don't just call out there sacred ground. In here too, it is sacred ground. Yesterday I took a back seat because I was kind of feeling you guys out and seeing where you were, but this too is sacred ground. And the culture that we have created out there is one of inclusion, and we are really big on making sure that we are positive. If you have an issue, if you have a bad call, whatever the case may be, take it outside, take it home, leave it home, whatever the case may be. We don't just say that. So if you're not in that whole mindset, if you're not adding to that, that's a problem. No one person is bigger than the company. So keep that in mind throughout everything that you do, because that's a big deal.
I like it. I think it feels really good in here. You know, the people that I've gone past out there, they seem happy.
That we're going to keep it that. We are going to keep it that way at all costs. So keep that in mind as you move through what you do here. So how you feel out there, no tension, no stress, we want to maintain that.
I have one question.
Yes.
The lady that came in and brought you the drink earlier, what is her name?
Angela.
Angela, okay.
She asked you. She asked me. I love
She
it.
might-
No,
That
She my
actually,
homegirl.
that is.
Yeah, no, because I was gonna say, like, she is so sweet, like, she was really nice yesterday, and then this morning, because she had saw me out there, and she was like, "Oh, yeah," I was like, "I'm fine."
Yeah, we are, it's me and
And that
Angela.
just showed a lot.
Yeah,
It's like, yeah,
for
you're lonely, and I'm just sitting out here having a conversation, but I guess she kind of saw my facial expression. She was like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Oh, yeah."
That's what we do. We are, that's what we do. Again,
She's been here 7 months. She's making really good money. She's
Oh, I
been an
can
insurance
imagine.
agent for 7 months, is what she told me.
Oh,
So,
okay.
like I said, I had a conversation with her too. She was really
Mhm.
sweet. She
She's
stopped
very
me.
sweet.
She stopped me.
yep, all of that wonderfulness. We love Angela and everyone else out there. So go be, I'll see you guys back at 11:30. 11:30. We'll jump in a little bit and then we'll take lunch. So 11:30, that's 12 minutes. Yeah, 13 minutes. There sometimes is. We're gonna take a 13-minute Miss Madison, so I'll be back. We'll be back. There might be coffee.
Okay.
If it is, you're welcome to it.
That's a good idea. Thank you.
You're live? You gonna make it?
I know, and I was
cracking
gonna
and
too.
oh.
Question I wanted to pertain to policy. So I know that they're not that question. But my mom is HIV positive and she has a hard time finding insurance coverage for final expense. Do you have any company that I can tell her to call?
There's I can give you quotes for AIG, which is a guarantee issue coverage option. It's a 2-year waiting period, but it's
She ain't going down anytime soon.
How old is she?
She's 61,
Okay, so
but she's really like pretty healthy.
AIG is good. You're welcome. AIG is good, and I can get you rates pretty quick, so you can.
Okay, yeah, I would like to do that sometime when you have free time. Second question, I'd probably have to talk to one of Jason or Andrew, but my birthday is next month, and I was hoping that it's on a Sunday, I was hoping it would like a half day Friday and take a Monday off after my birthday,
When is your birthday?
the 21st, so it'd be like half day on Friday the 19th and take the 22nd off.
So send an email to Jason once you get your computer tomorrow so that he can.
Okay, yeah, I want to mention it now while it's early. Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
You're welcome.
wasn't any coffee, they're making some.
Okay, I'm good.
I will bite your ankle. On my face mask. When they grab your face mask, that's legal, first of all, in the game. But it's on your face mask, and they have full control over your entire body. It's horrible. Right. Right. Called Hacksaw Ridge when I first got my wife, and it's a movie about a guy who got the first metal rock when I created.
Okay. I'm going back coffee.
out to war without a gun as a medic. And it was pretty awesome. Long story short, they ended up losing the battle and kind of retreat. He ended up not retreating because there was a lot of fallen soldiers over there. And he was like luring them to the retreat spot by the road. These guys at this point, they
40 minutes to spare. Oh, okay.
walking around, opening dead bodies, shooting for them, so they're done for.
Good. I want that.
Yeah.
So cold outside, I wanted to stand outside.
Oh, really?
I just went and stood in the, break room.
You never know how to dress anymore. It's cold outside, it's cold inside.
Even yesterday, you're all cold, when we got here, and then by the time I leave in,
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I have to put the air on now.
So, the name of the company.
I'm cold easy though, so I feel like I can't ever go wrong with like a sweater and a
Oh,
regular
yeah,
shirt.
absolutely. Well, you can always take it off too. I mean,
Yeah, I got this, I
so
put on my
hot.
regular shirt over here.
Nowhere to go.
Yeah.
Oh.
Nowhere to go but up from here, right?
Right.
That's how I see it.
I heard
So-
two things. I've heard people who like the cold, which I'm wondering in Florida, so that's not me. They say, well, the cold, you can always just keep adding more bundles and bundles on you. And I'm like, in the high, you can just wear less clothes. I have like bad bones and joints and.
So do I.
Yeah.
So do I.
Forget
That's why
about
there's no stilettos in my life anymore.
it.
I would fall off of them. I had one bad fall a few months ago. One was enough.
Oh, no.
I did fall, that was probably way too good. But I don't ever like go to nightclubs anymore,
I don't leave my house.
like a couple times a year. And
No,
then
please.
I try to wear the heels.
Prevention is a good thing.
I'm not a homeless. I like to go, but I was a bartender for 7 years. And then plus before, I was always a party
What's your
girl.
signature drink?
Like what I like to drink or what I like to make. What I like to drink, shots of whiskey.
What kind of whiskey?
My favorite bourbon is Woodford or
Oh, Woodford.
mostly Woodford. I like cognac too. Depends on my mood.
I haven't tried cognac yet. I've had Buffalo Trace.
Buffalo Trace is good. Oh, cognac is like a friend, like
Yeah. Like
Hennessy
I
is like
Yeah.
bottom though. I mean, I drink it too, but better qualities.
Oh, your nails are pretty.
Thank you.
I don't know if you said pretty.
It's right up here on Florida, actually, right now.
Oh, yeah.
I live in St. Pete. I
You know
live
what's
out
so
here in
funny
Tampa,
is that,
St.
like,
Pete,
I-
August, and now
That would be
I'm
me.
So I've been
But I still
working
come
from
to the
home for the
nail
past
salon
hour,
here.
I mean, for the past
I
year.
just
For the past hour,
And
you're
no,
good.
for
Yeah.
the past year, I've been
Yeah.
working from home and like,
Yeah,
it's so funny
Before that was
because
like 5 years.
I
previous,
do
but I moved to a different neighborhood. So
the majority of my steps during the day. Because
Because
I'll be sitting there and I'll be having conversations and I am such like a person that I like look in my mirror and my dresser and I'm like, by the time I go pick up the kids, I have like 7,000 steps. And then my 14-year-old likes to like compare like how many steps you do. And it's that year and he's gonna have Apple Watches and he's like, not how many steps you got. 8,000. He's like, where did you go today? I'm like, I've been working from home.
Like this all day.
Just like that, literally.
It's like when my boyfriend and I would take the dog for a walk. He's like, all right, how many steps did you get in? I said, but you can't count the 2,000 I did before the walk.
Right.
He said, you don't
Right.
count. I said,
Right.
but me, I did
Right.
9,000 somewhere. He's like,
So,
how many steps did you have? About 7,000.
right.
He said,
Well,
well,
and
how
it's
do you
real
have
funny.
nine? I'm like, because I did 2,000 before we even did this.
Right, and it's so funny, like on Sundays, the kids will just be like hanging out and sleeping and just chilling out. And Sundays are my day to clean. Like, I do all my laundry on Sundays, I clean up the house, like every room,
because it's
Don't
time
have
to
to go outside.
Oh,
I'm just so tired and I'm like, I've done 12,000 steps and I haven't walked outside yet. But how are you tired?
She's learning to
Please,
take her
you need to
voice.
get up and do something, so you put your steps
want
in.
you to pay attention. So what Evie does is this. Evie gets really, really loud. She gets really, and I was like, oh
Is
my
it
God,
the-
you're gonna be asleep.
That
Yes,
one?
she gets
Or
really
you-
loud. So what I did to teach her that she doesn't do that is this. When she starts it, when
Oh
she
my gosh, this weather is like not helping my driving syndrome. I can't keep enough lotion on my hands.
takes hers down too.
You got it. Well, my cat, when he does it,
It's mine, but I should.
it's because he wants to go outside and then he looks outside. It's funny. And he gets mad about it.
Thanks for the coffee. I don't know who made it, but first when we went out there, it was none,
Once
and
they're
there
going
was
like
some.
on the clean dishes
I need to dump
or on the floor.
All right, let's bring it to center. Bring it.
What page?
All right, so we are going to touch on, we're gonna do a breakdown of the script, but let's go into the 7 types of sales questions that are a must for Found Expense first. And then we'll go into breaking the script down.
My page 2.
You want that back?
I do. I want to be asking questions to be like, oh.
I don't know how I ended up with
I want one of those
that.
laminated sheets that I don't have either. No, it's page 6. Page 6.
Before we, the back copy ones, you have them before we
Page
get
6.
through the
The
script.
7 types of sales questions. Oh, no, I got
She's
that.
talking
I'm
about
talking
that
about
stuff in
the,
Yeah.
back here.
You will have all of that before.
I'm nosy, I'm sorry, I should have.
Mhm.
You're okay.
You stay in my corner.
No, you're quite all right. It's not that
We
serious.
have landed into.
It's not. Is it okay?
I was telling her, we've landed in the final expense heaven
Yes.
with the
So a little bit of heaven, let's touch on page 6. But no, this is definitely a place to be, the place to be when it comes to finance. I want people to know that. All right, so if you want to, Miss Susan, please, number 1 for us.
They help one learn about your buyer's situation and background, fact-finding questions. 3 in 1 method. Don't ask more than 3 fact-finding questions in a row without giving them something back. Giving something back means taking something from the answers you get and relate something to it from your own experience to make them feel safe and keep defenses down. Like, how is it living in Texas? What brought you to Texas? Is your family with you there? Relate back to them with my current situation. That's awesome that you moved there. I moved from somewhere to somewhere too, and it was such a process.
Yes, so we never want to
Yeah,
blah, blah,
yeah,
blah,
yeah.
obviously, but we do want to keep it going. Now, fact-finding questions, we are going to do that. That is part of, especially Mod 2, specifically Mod 2. Well, not specifically, but first Mod 2 and 4. But you want to ask questions to find out information, but you don't ever want the client to feel like they're in an interview. You want it to seem conversational. So asking 1 question and then 2 follow-up questions lets them know you're listening, you're interested by, just responding to them or giving them back after they have given you some input. So having stories, again, you'll want to have relatable stories, whether it's about the state that they are in, whether it's about your family, we call giving back currency. You want to be mindful of not asking them questions and just being ready to give your story, because again, it does not feel the same. It's not the same energy as you responding to me versus you just tell me all the stuff. They can care less if they don't know where it's coming from. So be mindful of that. Again, even with the individuals that may be a little hesitant to ask, don't be afraid to ask. You would rather them tell you, okay, this is too much, than for them to let you move forward. And then you realize in Mod 4, after they don't trust you, they don't feel connected, that maybe I should have spent more time in Mod 2. So yes, fact finding questions. What about goal assessment questions? Go ahead, Ms. Hannah.
Well, thank you. Goal assessment questions. Only use these questions once the client has their guard down, due to your fact-finding questions and what you give back. For example, tell me, Mr. Smith, why is this type of coverage important to you? The answer helps us learn more about them and their goals, and we can use that information as we move forward through the process. You know,
So, yes, perfect. Goal assessment questions, that will naturally kind of come as you go. You don't ever want it to feel, especially in mod 2. You're not, well, who's your beneficiary? We don't want to do that. We want to ask these questions so that they naturally come up without you asking specific or directly. So even with, because we don't even want to mention final expense in mod 1 or 2. We don't even want to talk about benefit. We are just creating a friendship. So you're asking questions to naturally kind of get a sense of this. But as you move further in the process, then you can be more direct. Once they get to know you, because in mod 1, anything they tell you, I'll say is a lie. Until they get to know you, they trust you to give you information. Oh, no, I got this. Anything they say in mod 1 is a lie for the most part. Anything that they say before they really trust you and know who you are, you can't really take it at face value because it is what it is. They don't know you. They don't trust you. You haven't gotten that permission for them to let you in. So that is definitely one of the biggest parts with the building rapport. Crystal, priority questions, please.
Priority questions. Well-crafted questions designed to identify the buyer's objectives. Like goal assessment questions, only they show what the client is really wanting. Great to ask after the first 2 question types are done. Don't ever assume to know what your customers' priorities are from what you think they probably are based on previous customers. Example, Mr. Whoever, what are you most focused on achieving with having a protection in place? Or what would the best possible policy look like for you? Always as open-ended questions. How important is fixing that fact you don't have any coverage right now?
So these are later on with the priority questions after mod 3 is complete. When you are in mods 4, before mod 5, or even in mod 5, where you're talking about the product and you're trying to find out more information about the policy they have. With this, we're really big on assumptive selling 1, and also certainty and decision. So a lot of times you are not even so much presenting these questions as questions, but making statements like, I see why this is important to you. Oh, so you're doing this so that you can have enough coverage in place so that such and such can happen. And then you praise them for it. So you're speaking the certainty and decision into them without them even realizing it, because they're agreeing with, yes, of course I want to make sure that if they have previous coverage, yeah, of course I want to make sure I have a little bit more so that as the cost of living goes up, my final expenses are still covered. So if you present it that way and you're giving them reasons why it is a priority, they're agreeing with you without even realizing that they're committing to getting some more coverage in place. So very, very intentional. Again, a lot of this is built into the script, but understanding that concept. And again, with the certainty and decision and letting them know ahead of time, and they'll be saying yes to you all about all of these things, to where when you present the options for them as far as the coverage options go, their natural response is to select an option. Question?
Yes, so my question
I'm
was,
coming that way too.
Oh.
No, go
I
ahead.
have the same question.
yeah, my question was, if they do have a pre-existing policy, like when I was going to houses and stuff, I would encourage them to go get it so we could like do a quick review to show them what their policy may potentially lack as opposed to ours, and why it's a good thing to actually have this to go along with what you currently have, because we would never say, oh, what you have is horrible, you need to cancel it, because you don't want to make them feel like they did make a bad decision in the past. But you want to say like, oh yeah, that's good, you have this, and this is what, we offer, because I noticed like when we get into, what was it, the Mod 5, where we actually kind of gotten through 2 and 4, knowing them and why they're getting this, then we're getting ready to talk about the product. The product has a lot of great features, which I feel that if you do have another policy or even a couple, I want you to get it so you can actually see how this does stand out, compared to what you have. And let's talk about that policy you have. Did you have to go do a medical exam? Because guess what? You don't do that here. You know what I'm saying?
So we don't, if they have it handy, they'll typically present that information and say that they have it. What we don't want them to do is say, well, I need to find it, and they get off the phone. First call close is big with this. So regardless of what they have, depending on what they have, this is something that is great to go alongside.
Yeah.
If you are presenting the benefits of Prosperity and they decide that this is, or even if you know that they have a policy, you just want to make sure that you are making everything about why Prosperity is good, something that's relevant to them, especially if there's a specific feature. They have a policy with work. We know that once you leave work, those policies aren't good. We're not going to ask them, well, do you still have it after you leave work, or is it going to go with you? We know that those policies do not. If they do, they have to pay more for them because they get group rates when it's a work policy. So the rates change, they give you an option. We're not gonna dig and do all that. Again, the curse of knowledge. We'll keep it simple. Well, most people don't realize that those policies go away. We don't need to, they go away after a year and then this happens. Well, most people don't even know that those go away. So I love that these are permanent, whole life years, price lock, and all of those things are reasons why, again, you just having the understanding that they have a policy with work. Oh, well, that's great because with this, you can actually do this and it actually does this. So we don't even want to we'll ask them questions, yes, but we don't want to overcomplicate it to where they feel like they need to spend more time with this policy or let me go find it. This is why this is good. If you get it and you realize that you want to cancel the other one or replace it, you can do that later on. But right now, we're going to talk about this wonderful product, how it can benefit you, regardless of what that other one's doing. You know that you have this in place. Even if it's just for your final expenses specifically, this will just be a little bit of coverage to add to what you have, or to make sure that if everything else goes away, you have these $5,000-$10,000 to make sure your family's not coming out of pocket for it. Yes?
Oh, my question was just like, so these 3 first ones are mostly in module 2,
Mm-hmm.
and then like the thought provoking and stuff would be more towards after module 4.
And we'll go through the next 2. These are just understanding the types of questions is big. As we go through the script, you'll see in there where they are, like in Mod 4, most of the questions are right there for you. It's just kind of understanding the thought process behind why the questions are presented. So in Mod 4, for the most part, those are all there. In Mod 2 is general getting to know you type of questions and just how to build rapport and ask questions so that you can get the information that you need. But some of this is just, again, conceptual more so than what you're going to need to actually ask. In some situations you may, but just understanding the types of questions and why behind it is good to know. So don't overthink these. Is just to kind of get you used to having conversations and asking questions and pulling information from the questions that you're asking. Thought-provoking, Miss Andrea.
Thought-provoking questions. Most start with, did you know, or have you heard? To get them thinking. For example, did you know that only 55% of people in your age bracket have this type of coverage in place? Did you know that? Then they start talking to you. Have you considered what would happen to your spouse if you didn't have this coverage in place? Do you want them to start thinking about these things? It starts bringing up the emotion and thought process you want them thinking about.
So, with Mod 4 specifically, these painting the picture and why we do the stories and all of that is all of this. because we don't want to leave Mach 4 without them feeling. So yes, you are going to have them think about and ask these types of questions to get them thinking along those lines to make the decision to get something in place. But until they find the reason why they actually need it or think about the reason, because they may, oh yeah, kind of, but unless you present it to them in a way to really get them to think about it, it's a lot easier to say no than once you've actually put them in that mindset of, could you imagine? And you're gonna use that verbiage, could you imagine, especially if they haven't gone through it before, but what if this was the situation? Could you imagine you passing away and Johnny having to face this on top of telling the kids that you're not there? And so those are definitely things that we want to make sure that we are putting into the process and making them realize and think about. Ms. Karen, can you give us number 5, please?
Hypothetical questions, meant to help your prospect realize the true cost of inaction, designed to create urgency. Questions that make them think about the future if they don't have this product in place. Tell me, whoever, Mr. Whoever, how would your spouse pay for your funeral if you don't have this type of coverage in place? Or, if God forbid, you were to die in some type of accident tomorrow, how would your daughter pay for your funeral? These questions make the customer think with emotions. They don't have to be negative. To craft a positive hypothetical question, you must know your client's pain points. A positive example would be, Mr. Whoever, imagine you live a long life and pass in your sleep peacefully. How do you think your daughter is going to feel when she finds out you put this type of coverage in place for over 20 years ago? She's going to feel great, loved, and covered financially. Gets the customer thinking, I'm going to do this today.
Yes, 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 very much like the previous thought provoking, you're just painting a picture and making them think about it and getting them to verbalize these things. So in Mach 4 especially, we're not skipping over these questions. We want to ask these questions. You want to be comfortable with being uncomfortable, because them being uncomfortable and thinking about something that they wouldn't naturally think about is what's going to cause them to get coverage, especially if they don't have it. Because if they don't have coverage, chances are they probably have not put thought into it, or they assume that they can't afford it. But one thing we'll realize as we move forward is finding something that's affordable is easy once we get them approved. You know, even if we have to keep going down in coverage, getting them to realize that they need something is huge, and then finding something that fits their budget is next. But getting them to realize that they need something is first and foremost. Once they know that there's a need there, they built rapport with you, then the next step is, okay, so what are we going to do about it? How can you help me get something in place so that this isn't the situation that I'm putting my family in? Clarifying question, Ms. Toy?
Clarifying questions help you check in with the client and make sure you're both on the same page. Confirming past answers by asking these questions, which may be closed-ended. Have you attempted to get this coverage in place in the past? I want to make sure I understand correctly. You've tried to get coverage, but it just wasn't affordable, or you were turned down? Is that correct? You're using the second questions to confirm the first questions, which makes them feel like you're listening to them and care, which you do.
Right. And clarifying questions don't have to just be about past coverage it just is something that can also be used in building rapport as well. They tell you something, you don't want to brush over it. If you don't know, have a conversation with them. You are genuinely building rapport. You're not just doing it for fun, but you really want to get to know them so that you are able to assess their situation and provide them a solution. So clarifying questions can be for any point within the script. Mod 2, Mod 4, if they mention something, again, if you are unclear, then ask. Just be clear. And then objections, whoever wants to take objection surfacing questions. Objection surfacing questions.
I can do it. Objection surfacing questions designed to get all the reasons why not out of the way to avoid things coming up at the end. Mr. Whoever, I'm sensing that there may be some hesitation. Am I off base thinking that you may not fully be on board? Or What reservations, if any, do you have about getting this coverage in place today? You must be doing this before your quoting costs are being presented to get these things out of the way so that you can move through the close without interruption.
So, objection servicing questions, you want to be careful how you present those because you don't want to sound salesy when you do it. When you're asking these questions, you want them to more so come out of a place of concern. If you're bringing these things up, you want to, I know you said that, your wife wouldn't be able to have it. So what is it? Because a lot of times, and using stories to prove your points are a lot softer of a way to address something than just saying, well, this is what I think you should do. Number one, you've already built rapport, so they're trusting you. But when you feel that there is some hesitation, using stories are a great way to response block. And these objection surfacing questions are another part of response blocking. So you're getting, and this is usually if you're in my 5 and you're asking the question besides, you traveling with the circus, is there anything that would stop you? Hopefully we can even get approved, but if we are approved, is there something that would stop you from putting this coverage in place? See what they say. If you feel like they've been hesitant or that they're, a little standoffish, this is the time to address those concerns and ask the difficult questions. You being afraid to do so is only going to hurt you in the end. So ask the questions, get them to be brought up and just be ready to have a conversation with them. What you don't want to do is have an objection surface and then you not acknowledge it because then it will come up. Literally, they will say the same thing again once you quote them. So have a conversation with them. If it's cost, then, we can get approved is first and foremost, finding something that you can handle monthly. That's the easy part. If it's talking to a spouse, you should have realized this from early on. They keep talking about their spouse. Part of the process in speaking certainty and decision is, I'm so glad that you're doing this for Hannah so that she won't have to. But you want to do that. You want to sprinkle those things in throughout the conversation and speak that certainty into the client so that they won't keep saying, well, I got to talk to him. Well, I love that you're doing this for Hannah. Could you imagine how grateful she's going to be whenever you pass and know that she won't have to go digging for these funds? You are such a wonderful husband for doing that. Those are things that you'll learn throughout the process, but those are things, the praise and all of that, it's done so that a lot of the stuff that may be objections aren't even objections when that comes, because you've already been doing the work without even them realizing that you're helping them to see how wonderful they are by making these decisions. So that's the neuro-linguistic programming and getting them to say yes and agree with you. All of that is built into the script.
I call that putting a bug in his ear.
Drop that book.
I call that training a man.
College
I'm really good at that.
Me too.
Those little subconscious things.
Yes,
Yes.
the little things that you.
Yes. So what we will question.
Sorry, I'm probably overthinking this stuff. The example for thought provoking, did you know that only 55% of people in your age bracket have the same coverage in place? Like, where would you insert that though? Like, when you're talking about the expenses or after you
No, that
pitch
would
the
be
product?
like 4, right?
So you can use that as a way to praise them. Less than 50. So I love that you are being proactive. That's huge. And you are so wonderful for doing that for your family. So that isn't even one that you have to use per se. This is just, again, to get them thinking and to really have a conversation going. So these, more so than not, just going through this, don't overthink it. Getting through the script will probably give you everything that you need. These are just things to think about and reasons why certain questions are in there, so that you're aware of the mindset behind the question.
Just kind of this is the way my mind thinks. So when you get the leads generated over there and they get sent to us over here, do they pre-qual before they get to here?
They ask a few questions, so they don't completely, like the knockout questions that we ask, they're not asking those.
Like financial type questions? Okay.
They do not.
Because my next thought on that is, what do you find is your biggest objection? Your most common objections?
Cost more so than anything, but you try to eliminate that by being actively listening when you're in Matu and you're asking those questions as far as what it is that they do for work. If they travel a lot and they're doing all these things that are fun and you know they have to have money, then when you go to quoting, then you may quote them something higher than you would quote someone that says all they do is stay home. They're on it. Them and their husband share one single income, or he's on disability, or whatever the case may be. So those are why we ask those kinds of questions,
To
so
kind of
that,
feel them out, okay,
yep,
that's
so
what I was,
that, yes,
okay.
good question, but no, that is specifically why, because sometimes, and especially when you are newer, you're gonna kind of get a feel for how to and one, and again, the putting the pieces together, connecting the dots, all of that kind of comes to, you'll see it as you start doing it. But yeah, you're gonna ask those questions because when it comes to quoting, and we'll talk about the high, middle, and the low, depending on your client, will determine what high, middle, and low is, and then you'll always have that hardship option.
So there'll be like probably 5 or 6 options.
No, there are infinite options. You're really selecting these
Oh,
quotes.
you're just deciding which
For
you
them,
feel
yes.
like
Yeah,
for
you're
each
telling them,
person.
right
Okay.
here, you want this one, right?
Yeah, yeah. We
Well,
have
and then like
This-
another
this
way
is
to like
you.
stop a rebuttal is say the payment's like $100 or something like that.
You say
Is
full
$3 a day really breaking the bank for you?
Some people use that. I don't particularly, and again, you want to try to be mindful when you present the quote so that you're not doing that. Because once you've given quotes, you're kind of just hoping that you've selected options to where they are reasonable, or something that you want to go high. You always want to go high because you never know. They could have a lawsuit that they have sitting in the bank that gives them a little bit of extra money. But you want to make sure that with the quoting, you go high, the middle, and a low. The middle one's probably the sweet spot that you think they should be able to do this, but give them a low that's a high low, so that if they do go with that, it's still decent. Or if that one's too much, you can still come back with another option for them. So we'll break down a little bit more of the quoting logic, and once you guys have access to Prosperity, you can see how you go in and get the rates, because sometimes what happens, and usually if it's a cost objection, is because they're sick as a dog and they have a limited income. So they get the most high coverage and they smoke. And so, yeah, so it's like your rates are high anyways.
It's a hot
and-
mess.
Right. So typically that would be a situation where it's like, ooh, but response blocking is, even if we can't cover everything, if you know that they are going to be modified, they've been talking about this money, they don't have, so you want to, before you get to quotes, hopefully we can get you approved, I know that you have this, and you want to talk about whatever it is that's causing them to be modified, with that, congestive heart failure. A lot of times people can't even get approved, but hopefully we can. Or sometimes people get approved, but the rates are high because that heart failure. But hopefully we can get you approved, and then finding something that's affordable. Even if you can't cover everything, finding something that you can at least have for the kids to say, Mom thought about me. That you're sprinkling these things before you quote them, because you want them to know that, okay, well, hopefully I can get a little something, and know that a little something is still something. So that is part of the whole concept behind response blocking, is addressing these potential hiccups before they happen and actively listening so that you can address things before they verbalize them, because once they say it out loud, then they're going to feel compelled to justify whatever it is they said. But if you address it beforehand and they're agreeing with you beforehand, and then they hear the prices, well, you've already told them these rates might be high, if we can even get you approved. So once you're building the doubt, and then you say, oh, we're approved, so I got approved, let me act on it, because again, that doubt build is huge, and you telling them,
So you're giving baby negatives.
Yeah, again, and we'll talk more because we're about to start breaking this thing down.
I use that word too. I always like go at the bar. I'm like, it's only $10.
And you want to be careful, and we talk about that when we give the quotes, but you might not want to say only when you're at the high option, because that only, I mean, some people can take it, or you just want to be mindful because you don't want to be condescending if only $110 is like, ooh, $110. So you want to be careful with that, but yeah, we'll touch on. But yes, those are the questions, the types of questions and the whys behind those types of questions. So yeah, we'll do Mount 1, get into that. The report build is probably the fun section, but again, it's all it's all for a reason. So call comes through. First thing you want to be mindful of in Mod 1, and you guys can go to page 8.
Okay.
Emotion and tonality in your voice. So that's one of those zero sales talent things. Page 8.
Oh, yours is like,
Yeah.
I was looking to see if there was the.
No, you can make notes on these. The ones that aren't laminated, maybe stuff that you want to kind of jot down, but there's also an actual note page on 11 for my 2 notes if you want to add anything there. And then you can pull that last page out when you get on the floor or whatever the case may be. But yes,
So
Mount
keep
1.
to keep these on.
Yes. Yes.
I was like, I hope she don't expect me to remember that.
I made those for you all. Okay. Emotion and tonality. This is the first time that they are talking to you. Again, your voice is your tool. So you want to make sure that you are not sleeping. You are alert and aware. When you are on your call, when you are on cue, and we'll talk about phones and what on cue versus off cue is, you want to make sure that you're ready. This is a performance. So that call comes through. You're on stage. Posture is big. You don't want to be sounding like you're sleeping or slumped down in your chair. Be ready. Like I said, have a mirror up. Whatever makes you feel like, okay, I'm ready to go. Stand up if you had to. The walking around thing won't happen because it's Kenny and Nelson have been here. Me, Kenny, Nelson have been here the longest. Those are the 2 Bluetooth ones that we have. More than 3 or 4 Bluetooth starts to create issues. So you'll be locked in. Your first 2 months, anyways, you don't want to be doing anything except locked in. Focus on your call, your client, whatever the case may be. So call comes through, be ready. If you're on cue, it will come through. The last thing you would want is for me to be monitoring a call and you pick up, you're eating, you're not aware, you have no idea what the person's name is. The transfer agent will say, hi, this is whoever, my name is Sally. I have Michael on the line. He's in Tennessee, and this is his telephone number, or this is his zip code. They may give you 1 to 4 pieces of information. Regardless, it doesn't matter how that call comes over. That client should know the difference between just some random 2-minute call and you as their life insurance agent or a state license agent. So you want to be ready. You want to sound ready. Your voice is your tool. So tonality and being able to voice inflection, all of that is something that you want to be mindful of, and you don't want to sound like you're reading. You don't want to sound monotone throughout the hi, I'm so glad to assist you with your quote today, just to see if the call may be recorded. I want to see if you're eligible or not. You're already asking questions right off bat that like, wait 1 second. You want them to feel, okay, well, who is this? All right, well, yeah. You want to have authority as well. You want them to listen. You want them to, you want to have personality, yes, but you want to make sure that you're speaking with authority so that they do feel the need to listen. You want it right up front. In Mod 1, you're letting them know who you are. You are a state licensed agent. You want to see if they are eligible for the 2020 state approved final expense programs. You have a few quick medical questions to determine the level of coverage. Their date of birth and their age will populate in agency block. So as soon as they come over, a new lead will populate. You'll click on it, and once it opens up, you will have the client's name, date of birth, and their age will be there as well. So you won't have to do the math. It'll pop up, you're verifying the age, and that makes you, I typically say 57 years young. That little young, they smile a little bit and you keep it moving. So also with the intro, sometimes people will ask how you're doing. I strongly see the difference between asking how you're doing and I hope you're having a great day. It's subtle, but it's a big difference. Because if they're doing terrible, you don't want them to go on a roller coaster of why they're doing well. Actually, I'm not. I hope you're doing great today. It's a lot easier to say yep and keep it moving than how are you doing? Well, my mom just died and I lost my job and I'll be doing great. Even if they're not, they are more compelled to say yes and agree and keep moving. So building rapport, trust in your voice. You do want to sound pleasant. You do not want to have a lot of back and forth in mod 1 because you are establishing your authority. You're taking you're setting the tone for the call. So you're going through these medical questions, and again, you're wearing different hats. When the call initially comes through, we want them to know, okay, we're going to get through these, and we're going to be as precise as possible. You're going to be very clear with the questions that are being asked so that they are clear on how to answer the questions. You want them to feel like they should be grateful to, so we mentioned state many times because we want them to feel special about the fact that, this is something for, even though whatever state we get is the state that these policies are available for them in that state. But you mentioning their state makes them feel like, this is something for me. Okay, yes, it is for you. If you were in Tennessee, it'd be for you. If you're in Florida, it'd be for you. But we want them to feel special about their state and feel like it's something exclusive for them, and so it already says these state approved, so on and so forth. Yes, these are state approved programs set up for you. Get the COVID questions knocked out. Now, within the last 30 days, again, we're not discussing Corona or COVID. We're asking these questions to get a simple yes or no. If they give you a yes, make sure that you're clear on what the question is asking. So within the last 30 days, has a medical professional administered a test on you for coronavirus for which you tested positive or for which results are not yet known, or recommended that you be tested, but testing has not yet been done? Yes, I've been tested, but did you test positive is the question that is being asked. Well, no, I haven't had a test yet. A lot of people say that because they haven't been tested, but it's asking, has it been recommended that you be tested, but testing has not yet been done? So you don't want to just take a yes answer and, can't talk to you, I have to talk to you, I'll call you back in 30 days. You want to make sure that you are clear on what's being asked and that they are clear on what's being asked. So again, it's have you tested positive, or if you're waiting for results, or taking the test for which results are not yet known, or again, recommended that you be tested, but testing has not yet been done. Within the last 30 days, have you been subject to a government mandated quarantine or isolation order, or been advised by a medical professional to self-quarantine due to suspected coronavirus or exposure to someone who has been exposed or diagnosed with coronavirus? Again, has a medical professional advised you to self-quarantine, or have you been subject to a government mandated quarantine or isolation? Not, yes, I've been quarantined, I haven't gone anywhere since this COVID thing, I've been in the house. No, it's asking, have you been advised to self-quarantine? Were you exposed and now you have to be self-quarantined for 14 days or however many days? If it is a yes answer, then okay, we're going to clarify. When did that happen? It's been, that was when you said December 2nd. Actually, that's been way more than 30 days. So you can answer no to that question. Sometimes they'll say yes, not even realizing that, no, it is past the time frame. Or if they say yes and it's been within 2 weeks, okay, well, I'll give you a call back in 2 weeks because you do need to have a no answer to that in order for us to move forward. You set a follow-up. You disposition it in the agency block, and we'll talk about how to disposition calls, but you move forward. You don't want to spend too much time building rapport in Mount One. They come through you, oh, how was your day? You talk to them for 7 minutes and then one question in, they are knocked out. You just spent 7 minutes on a call to someone that literally does not qualify. So Mount One, we're gonna try to get through these questions as seamlessly as possible, get clear yeses if they're yeses, and there's call dismissal verbiage, which you'll have access to once you have a soft copy of the script. But if it's a yes and it's a clear yes, you let the call go. If it's a no, then you move forward. Again, you must have no answers to the first two to move forward. And then, the next question, somebody give me the next question for Mod 1.
Hospitalized.
Oh, she doesn't have a page.
Oh,
Yeah.
I don't, I'm sorry.
Have you currently or in the last 30 days been hospitalized, committed to a psychiatric facility, confined to a nursing facility, received hospice or home health care, been confined to a wheelchair due to a disease, or are you awaiting an organ transplant?
All right, so you said sorry, I'll get to that. You said you don't have page 1?
Oh, no, I haven't.
Oh, okay.
You get it back.
Okay, no, I thought you said you didn't have something. Okay, so have you currently or in the last 30 days been hospitalized, committed to a psychiatric facility, confined to a nursing facility, received hospice or home health care, been confined to a wheelchair due to disease? If they've been confined to a wheelchair because they got shot in their leg, or they had an amputation that was caused because of an accident, anything that is not due to a disease would be a no answer. If they're confined to a wheelchair, but it's not due, like, you want to be as literal with these questions as possible. Or are you awaiting an organ transplant? For the most part, those are pretty straightforward. Hospitalized, if they've been hospitalized, but it has not been 30, or it's been outside of 30 days, then you're able to, oh, that's actually a no answer. If they say yes, and you get clarification, well, when were you hospitalized? And it's been past 30 days, well, actually, that is a no answer. Or if they went to the hospital, they had a hospital visit, but were not hospitalized, meaning they stayed overnight, then, oh, you went to the hospital, but they did not keep you, oh, so that would be a no answer. Committed to a psychiatric facility, confined to a nursing facility, received hospice or home health care, all of those, again, clean. If it's yes, then it's a yes, and make sure it is a yes. If it's a no, then move forward. If it is a yes, again, the dismissal verbiage, and you move forward.
So these two would be dismissal verbiage?
Everything in red is if they answer yes to any of these first questions, then you cannot move forward.
So you just don't bother asking like if they said yes at one, you wouldn't even bother asking the others, you would just give the dismissal verbiage?
Now, depending on how sweet the client was, give me 1 second, Miss Helen, Miss Hannah, sorry,
okay.
and I'll probably do that a couple more times, sorry.
I don't know that.
Okay, so, sometimes, depending on how nice the client is, but still, you don't want anyone to feel like crap completely because they answer no, or because they answer yes. So sometimes I will ask maybe one question after it, and then say, well, in order to qualify for the best options, you do have to have a no answer to the first sets of questions. But what I'll do is have one of my agents that specialize in guarantee issue coverage give you a call back and let it go like that. You don't want to spend too much time on those because though you can't do anything with them, but you want to be mindful of their feelings. But yeah, if they answer yes to any knockout questions, they are literally knocked out, disqualified.
Okay,
Go ahead.
thank you.
Yes.
Now, what if someone, they're past that 30-day period where they had COVID, okay? And now they say to me, now I'm having to see a doctor, because I've seen some damage to my heart. And I've seen some damage to my internal organs, you know what I mean? And I'm still having some flare-ups and some symptoms of that. How do we address that type of comment?
If we'll move through the questions. They have specific health questions. If you're able to answer no, then we'll proceed as needed. If you answer yes, hopefully. If they answer yes to a question that is further along in the script, then they still qualify, would just affect the amount or how they are, their coverage amounts, like how their rates are. So it'll affect rates more so than them being able to be covered altogether. So, okay, well, you're able to answer no to that, so that we are outside the 30 days, and we'll move on and see, if we can find you some coverage. So depending on what they say, because if they have, and we'll go through the questions, but yeah, if they're able to say no, that's a no. So it's asking specifically here about COVID, and we'll keep moving into the next question. Now there is one, and we'll touch on that once we get there. We'll revisit your question. Do you require human assistance or supervision with eating, dressing, toileting, transferring from bed to chair, walking, maintaining continence, or bathing? So, human assistance. If you have a cane and you're able to do everything on your own, you're fine. Do you require human assistance as well? So, sometimes my daughter does help me, like Ms. Ada said on that call that we're listening to. Sometimes my daughter helps me out, but do you require it, or does it just make it a little easier for you? Those are two different answers. If it is needed, then that's yes, and that's a knockout. If it just makes it helpful because sometimes I don't feel like it, or sometimes I'm just tired and she just loves to help her, whatever the case. Sometimes my leg is cramped up and okay, but you don't require it, then that would be a no answer. Eating, dressing, toileting, transferring from bed to chair. Some people are in wheelchairs but able to do everything on their own. Again, if they are in that wheelchair but it is not due to disease, then that is fine. We are going to proceed. We're going to proceed. Walking, maintaining continence, which is maintaining continence using the bathroom, or keeping your internal stuff in, or bathing. They need human assistance with any of those things, then it is a knockout. Within the past 12 months, and everything after all the A, B, and C points for this is a 12-month time frame. So have you been advised to have a diagnostics test other than an HIV test, surgery, home health care, or hospitalization, which has not yet started, been completed, or for which results are unknown? So, if they have a bunch of tests coming up because of COVID and my heart, and it is deep dive testing, then okay, that is a yes response. We do not move forward. If they were thinking about having something done, but it's not scheduled, and they might, and my hip been hurting, and maybe I might get it done, or I've been thinking about it for the last 3 years, then that's a no response. It's within the last 12 months. It's been 3 years that you've been thinking about it. Oh, so it's nothing internal. It's nothing that's life or death. That's a no response, and you move forward. Have you used or been advised to use oxygen equipment for assistance in breathing, excluding a CPAP machine or nebulizer? Many people use CPAPs and or nebulizers. So that's excluding CPAP or nebulizer. Typically, I don't even read that section unless they say, well, I have a CPAP. Well, it's excluding CPAPs, but most often that's a simple no answer, but this is literally talking about oxygen. Do you have an oxygen tank? You pulling an oxygen tank around with you? No? Okay. And we proceed. Have you had or been advised to have kidney dialysis? Again, this is in the last 12 months. So if they had it 5 years ago, they're fine, then again, that would be a no answer. Have you ever been diagnosed or treated for acquired immune deficiency syndrome, AIDS and or HIV? That is a knockout one, and that's an ever. Have you ever, because sometimes people say, well, that was in 95, but I'm good. That's an ever one. So, have you ever been diagnosed or received treatment for Alzheimer's, dementia, Lou Gehrig's disease, ALS, or cirrhosis of the liver stage C? Also ever. So if they say, well, back in 72, but I'm good now. Alzheimer's medications do not go away. They're always there. But all of those questions, all of those would be knockout.
Is it because of the medication or just because you don't know if they're making a sound decision
All of
based on the diagnosis?
Between the medication, all of it.
All the
It's just
above.
one that Prosperity specifically, there's a higher risk with people with those illnesses, of passing or just, it's just not good business on Prosperity's end. So they just don't, it's just knocked out, period. Have you ever been diagnosed with more than one occurrence of the same or different type of cancer, or are you receiving treatment, including taking medication for any form of cancer? So with this, it is saying more than one occurrence of the same or different type of cancer. So if they had lung cancer 20 years ago, they're fine. If they had lung cancer 3 years ago, they're fine. It's saying more than one occurrence of the same or different type of cancer. So if they had lung cancer, they beat it, and then they ended up with breast cancer, then that is a knockout because it's more than one occurrence of the same or different type of cancer. Or are you receiving treatment, including taking medication for any form of cancer, excluding basal or squamous cell skin cancer? So they could have skin cancer 5 different times. That does not matter. It's excluding skin cancer.
Do you say that part to them, or do you just wait to see if they, well, I've got skin cancer, and then you say, oh, that's excluded, or what do you do on the CPAP?
I usually do not say that, but you can. I mean, it's really to your discretion. It's more words. Typically, if they do have cancer, then the follow-up would be what kind. And if they say skin cancer, or they may just volunteer and say, well, yeah, I've had skin cancer, then, oh, well, it's excluding skin cancer. And then you move forward. Yes,
To
ma'am.
help them understand that if they don't know. When they're talking about basal cell and squamous cell cancer, that type of cancer is called in situ. And what in situ means is
We won't
it
even
doesn't
have to.
spread.
We're good on those only
As long
because
as
we're
it's
gonna
not
go
like
verbatim.
melanoma.
We're gonna go verbatim on these questions. Excluding basal squamous cell skin cancer. So skin cancer is fine. Not that it's fine, but it's not a concern.
Right, you don't die from that and it doesn't spread.
There you go. So, then we go into height and weight. There is a height and weight chart that you will have access to from Prosperity. You actually have it, I believe it's before page 34. So after page 33, there is an insert that has New Vista fact sheet. And it has the height and weight table. So you will check that. The Prosperity height and weight.
It's inside the.
Yeah,
It's on the back of that
plastic
insert.
pages,
It's
right?
the second page.
Can we just use this one?
Yep, you have it in the back of your booklet as well. So you'll just make sure that they do not fall outside of that height and weight chart. Ms. Madison, thank you for your patience. Your stuff is coming, but you do have access to that. Check your email. I'm sending you a screenshot of the height and weight chart. Say it again, smoker, non-smoker.
Yeah, I was just looking at, I was just making an outlet.
Smoke,
That
gotcha.
they even have that chart.
Yep, smokers' rates are definitely different, much different than non-smokers' rates. And we don't ask that at the front because it doesn't knock them out whether they're smoking or not. That's just something that's good to know. So you'll also see in that height and weight chart where it can determine, so if they are, let's say they are 2 pounds outside of what would make them level for coverage, we're not gonna cause them to, because you might weigh in the morning and be 2 pounds over, weigh at night and be 2 pounds under, or the other way around. Weigh in the morning, you're 2 pounds less than you would at 5 o'clock in the middle of the afternoon. So if they're within a pound or two, you may say, okay, well, on a good day, would you say that you are closer to such and such weight? If they say no and they're dead on whatever amount they said, then that is what it is. But if it is a couple pounds and you ask them and they're like, no, actually, yeah, on a good day, I'm losing pounds as we speak. And yesterday I was such and such. then you would go with, okay, so we'll go, let's say, let me actually look at it, I was trying to multitask, but that's not working. Let's say she's 5'9", minimums do count as well, but 5'9", 300 pounds. Well, on a good day, you think that you'd be $2.99 in the morning before breakfast? She says, yes, okay, so we'll be 5'9", $2.99. That 1 pound can definitely make a difference. Most people are fine with moving forward with that, yeah. And it's, again, because more than likely, it is a pound. So the difference between level and modified, level and graded could be huge, but if they're there, no, I'm 300. I was actually 345, but I'm 300 now. Okay, you use that as a reason to doubt build. So you want to make sure that you are just being mindful of those things. We do not want to praise health at all. We never want to praise health. Okay, Miss Madison, I lied and I apologize. You'll get your pamphlet. I don't know where my height and weight chart is.
Oh, you don't, that's why I don't have it. Because the last time you sent me an email, it took 2 days for it to show up in my email. I didn't get it till 2 days later, I don't know why.
I'm not sure what you're talking about. You don't have what?
Okay. A height and weight chart, I thought you sent it out like a group email right now.
No,
and
no,
I
no,
was
no.
checking.
No,
Okay.
that is in the booklet that you have. Before 34 or after page 20. You don't have that insert?
No, I can't find it.
Is it in your,
It's also here.
I looked, and
Yeah,
it's not there.
everything goes.
I only got 2 and it doesn't show there.
Page 33,
If
go
you
to
go to
page
your-
33,
It should be a few pages in your 33 if you,
right after page
Take it.
33.
Yeah,
is an
Right after
insert.
33.
yeah, reach in there, yeah, and that first
There's
page, if
more
you
than
lift
one.
the first page, it should have the height and weight charts behind it.
Thank you. Gotcha. Okay. That's what it is. It's
So
just-
you'll see
Yes,
those
there it is.
a
Yeah.
million different times. You can flip it over backwards and put it on the back so that as you open your insert, it's there, but you also have it in the back of your
Right.
binder.
But see, it was just like this in my binder.
yeah, she doesn't have this one.
Okay. No. In the back of your binder, you know?
Chew.
Bless you.
Thank you. Nope, mine is not there. Nope, not there.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes, I do. Yeah, I do. I'm sorry. It was hidden.
I was gonna say, listen, I knew I was tired a couple of times when I did those, but,
You
okay,
don't have
so,
any of it.
thank you, Madison.
Thank you.
I will be there.
We need these. See, we gotta put these up where we can see them.
Yeah, those things in the back of your binder are for you to put up in your cubicles. Okay, so moving forward, you want to be mindful, and we'll talk about that more as well when it comes to the qualifications and what type of coverage and how the rates go and level graded, modified. You guys will know that in your sleep before we're done.
So the dismissal verbiage, it just pops up on the screen, or is it the, I'll transfer you to one of the agents that specialize in guaranteed issue?
In order to qualify for for the final expense programs, and no response to all of the previous questions is required, what I can do for you is have someone that specializes in guarantee issue coverage give you a call back.
Okay.
And
so
that
yeah.
is on the soft copy version of the notes.
So I can take it.
Mhm.
So we have to turn that over when they might have wanted $1,000 in coverage or 2 to somebody else to do when we get down.
So we may end up with a full guarantee issue department, but right now the focus is Prosperity. AIG is a company that we sometimes use, but they don't pay out good and those policies rarely stick.
Exactly.
So it's not worth the time, effort, or energy. So we want to thank them. I'm glad that you could answer no to all the knockout questions. That is great. Again, we don't praise health, but we do want to be grateful for them being able to answer no to the knockout questions so that we can proceed, because if they cannot answer no to knockout questions, then we cannot proceed. That thank you at the beginning of the next, that's great, perfect, that perfect at the beginning of the next sentence should not be there.
So you transfer them automatically to a kin, or do you set them aside?
Just say someone will call you back and you can send it up or send it over or make a disposition it as guaranteed issue. It's usually the easiest thing. Disposition and guarantee issue and move forward. Thank you. Now, these final expense programs have been approved. Again, we want to say the state as many times as possible to help families against the rising cost of funeral expenses and final arrangements in general. Now that I know a little bit about your health, I'll be better equipped to help with options, eligibility, cost, and level of benefit that you may qualify for. Now, because these are state-approved final expense plans, they are set up to work directly with banks and credit unions. Now, customer, I don't need your personal information now, of course, but you do at least have an active savings or checking account set up at a physical bank or credit union, correct? Now, sometimes they say yes, but you do want to verify that this is not one of those prepaid cards or the government benefit reloadable cards like NetSpend or Direct Express. Now, we do not take, Prosperity does, so be mindful of this. Prosperity does allow for Direct Express to be used, but if they do not have a physical bank account or, an account, an actual bank account, then it's not good business. So if they only have Direct Express, they only have NetSpend, then chances are they're not good with their money, and you don't want to spend time going through all of this process and writing a policy for someone that may pay for a month and may not. People that cannot maintain a traditional bank account, probably, there are outliers for whatever reason, but it's the amount of people that are not able to maintain bank accounts and only have those special accounts are not the ideal client population. Also, while Prosperity does accept Direct Express, they don't pay 12 months ahead or 9 months ahead. There's no advance for Direct Express. So for you personally, watching your money and making sure that you're making the most out of your time, you do not want to invest time in someone that tells you right up front that they have Direct Express, because then, again, not only do they not have a high percentage of paying, but you're also only getting paid for, let's say they have $100 policy, which they may not, probably will not. You're getting $25 each month they make that payment, as opposed to getting a percentage of a 9-month advance. Does that make sense?
So you would just ensure the dismissal, again, minus the guaranteed calling.
In order to qualify for the best options, you do need to have a physical savings or checking account available. I'll look into options and give you a call back. Really isn't any option. It's not worth your time. Let it go.
So just say that.
And proceed, move forward. Now, you are responsible for your own personal finances, correct? Sometimes make a little joke like, I wish I wasn't, but I am. And, because you want to, number one, that's the beginning of them committing to making a decision today. They can't really, it's less likely for them to say, well, my kids are really the ones that, because they're telling you right here that, yes, they're responsible for their own personal finances. But there are instances where they may say, no, actually, my kids won't let me have a bank card. They may be old, they may have been scammed, or whoever knows why, but there may be instances where they do not. You don't want to spend an hour on a call and then them say, well, I have to get my son to look at it, or my son has all my account information, or they don't let me touch anything. Well, what we can do is set up a follow-up when your son will be available, and we'll see what options we may be able to get you approved for and let it go. You can notate and give a call back if they're like, well, I really need it. If you're going to set a follow-up, you want to eliminate follow-ups, because you don't want to spend your days chasing maybe calls or people that may answer the phone. The likelihood of them answering after you get off the call is slim. And you don't want to use new business hours chasing old business or doing callbacks. So if you've invested time and they're serious and you're asking them, okay, well, if you're going to set a follow-up, make sure it's something that they're serious about, because again, this is your day that you're going to be impeding upon to try to get them to call back. And who knows how many calls they'll get after you hang up that may just put a bad taste in their mouth, period. Or it's a 800 number that we're calling from the office line, 888. You haven't built enough rapport to give them your cell phone number, so they may just not answer an 888 number. So if you're gonna set a follow-up, make sure they take the number down. But again, if you're gonna set up a follow-up at all, make sure it's something that is worth following up with.
Quick question. What if they say, my son has power of attorney, we need life insurance for me? He would make that choice. This is his number.
Yeah, call them back after noon business hours. If you feel that strong and they want you to call on a three-way, but I would call back after hours. Okay, well, let them know that I'll be giving them a call back. I'm a state appointed agent and I will be happy to talk to them. Boom, boom, boom. Judgment call on that, but for the most part, unless they're like, call them now, and you call, it may take a few minutes. He may give you a quick no, he may give you a long, you may be able to pitch him, but judgment call on that, personally, I would, unless they're like, yeah, he's available. If it's their son, he's probably working, he call back after hours, set up a follow-up for after 5:30.
Okay.
Now, do you have a pen and paper? I want to provide you with some important information. If they don't have it immediately, they're like, oh, I'm driving. You don't want to stop the call there because of that. Well, it's okay. I can text it to you and you move right into it. I typically start by providing, again, my name, which is Maureen, and my national producer number, boom, boom, boom. That number is and you move right into it. If they're like, oh my goodness, and sometimes they're like, oh my goodness, you're putting me to work. They'll laugh and go get it. But you don't want to spend 5 minutes waiting for them to get something or get to something. Or I'm driving, hold on. Sometimes there was a hold on, let me pull over. Don't worry about that. I usually start by providing my national producer number. And again, my name's Maureen. My national producer number is very important because that number lets you know that I'm appointed and licensed by the state of Florida to talk to you about these state-regulated final expense life and burial protection programs. Now, not that you don't want to be clear on everything that you're saying, but when you get to stating your title and what you do and who you are, you want to make sure this is in bold for a reason. I am appointed and licensed by the state of Florida to talk to you about these state-regulated final expense life and burial protection programs. You want to make sure that they are clear, they understand what you are doing, who you are, what these programs are. Again, just though the verbiage is set up in a way to where it's going to make them want to listen. Oh, this is approved by the state, and let me see what she is talking about. And you move forward. So I'm not a telemarketer or an operator. I don't work for any one insurance company. I'm a state licensed agent that works for you. So again, tone, voice inflection, you do not want to state licensed agent. I work for you. Want them to be engaged. You want to go up. You want to be strong with these. The bold language is there so that you can make sure that you are being assertive. So I know that you're going to need my help applying for these Florida regulated final expense plans. So I want to tell you a little bit about them, how to apply, and then you can let me know what to do from there, okay? We're getting them used to saying okay. So you want to get the okays because that's them. You're number one, you're knowing, or you know that they're paying attention, they're engaged, but it is getting them used to agreeing and proceeding and giving you yeses and okays right off bat. Yes? So a lot of people don't even know that these types of policies exist, and they are very excited to find out just how simple and affordable they are. Now, these final expense benefits, they are small, affordable, permanent whole life insurance policies that are regulated by the state of Florida, and they're designed for people living on fixed or limited incomes like Social Security and disability. And I've even had the honor of serving some of our disabled veterans, but even if you don't fall in any of those categories, these policies are designed so that any income level can have something affordable for their loved one's protection. These plans are permanent, which means once you have coverage in place, it can never change. And these policies do pay out within 48 hours, and it'll probably be the first money that your loved ones see when the time comes. So, Ms. Karen, if we do qualify today, I'll have a package mailed out to you in 3 to 5 days. That way you'll have everything that we talked about today in black and white, okay? Mm-hmm. All right, so now that there is a welcome letter that is sent out by Jason, he is very good about getting those out daily. There has been, and I think it all happened within a good 3-week time frame, that welcome letter literally saved 3 policies, if not 4, within a 3-week time frame. I had a client that literally called me and he was like, I don't want to do this. I want to cancel. I don't want to cancel. And I was like, okay, well, we talked a little bit about it. He was like, no, I just want to cancel. And before the day was out, he was like, I got my policy in the mail. Didn't even realize it's not his policy. It was the welcome letter. But just having something tangible in hand to confirm everything that you told them and having it quickly, because it may take a week or 2 weeks after they pay their initial premium for them to get their actual policy in the mail. So that welcome pay, he was like, I got my policy, it looks good. I'm like, is it too late not to cancel it? It wasn't, because I was in a rush to call and cancel. I think it was an email that I was in the process of making before he even called back. He was ready to keep his policy in place.
Oh, so you would reach out, you can't like do it yourself, you have to send emails to contact Spirit.
Mm-hmm. You can call as well, but the phone call usually takes a little longer, so I typically just send an email over.
Sorry, I have so many questions.
No, ask. They're good questions. They're valid. So yes. You get them to get the affirmative that they're with you. Okay, we move forward. So I've been doing this for a while, a whole day now. But now again, you are the final expense specialist. They don't need to know that a while is all 2 weeks of training and their phone call. Either way, my objective is to find you the top tier benefit based on your age and based on your health. So I don't work for the insurance company. I work for you, and my role is to find you the absolute best solution out of everything that's available. If we can get you qualified, because again, we don't want them to feel like they can get this, everybody can get. If we can get you qualified, we're building doubt right off the bat. If we can get you qualified, then your benefits will be secure for your family by applying for them over the telephone without spending any money today. Okay? People love to hear that. They don't have to spend any money today. They're committing, yes. You're getting their account information. Yes, they do not have to. They can if they want to, but you let them know that later on if they choose to, because most people, it's very rare that anyone wants to pay day of, but it does happen. You want to give them that option when you get to that point, but they don't have to spend any money today. So as a state licensed agent, it is my responsibility and maybe the best part of my job. Again, that cheese is not to be left out. And also this statement is in there because you want them to know, okay, I'm about to ask you some questions. We're going to talk a little bit. So this is my favorite part about all of this. So is to get to know a little bit about you so that I can determine the best possible company, the best plan, and of course the best price available in Florida, even if you've ever been turned down before. Now, have you ever been turned down or denied coverage in the past? That is a very rhetorical question. It does not matter how they answer it, yes, no, or anything in between. You're asking just to transition into, and just to get an idea, have you been turned down in the past? But again, whether they say yes or no, we're not gonna, well, how long? Why they, no, it's just rhetorical, just to get them to answer. How long have you been looking into life insurance? Well, I haven't been, or just 2 months or 2 years, or whatever they respond. Well, you couldn't have fallen into better hands, and you move right into, now you're in Florida. How long have you been in Florida? You're into the report bill. So again, that last section is just to transition out of and into mod 2, but we're not going to start deep diving. Well, you already have a policy. How long have you had? Oh, great. I love that you know how important it is to have coverage, and we roll right into mod 2. You couldn't have fallen into better hands. Or a lot of people don't know that these types of policies exist. Again, a lot of the quote unquote rebuttals are just things to say are already built into the script. If you use it again, well, like I said, a lot of people don't even know that these types of policies exist. You couldn't have fallen into better hands, and you move right into the report bill. So again, speaking clear, being precise, speaking with authority. You do not want them to take you up, down, and around in mod 1, because if you set the tone for the call as I'm just here to let you do what you want to do, you're not going to make it very far in the call. So yes, you want to be pleasant, but you do want to speak with that authority and set that right from the beginning. And then you let your hair down a little bit and have a conversation with them. So while you want to be pleasant, you want to let them know, okay, this is what we're going to do. This is who I am. I love these policies. They're great. Hopefully we can get you approved. Because this is some good stuff. Now, this is why these types of policies are available for this, affordable, small. So you want to touch on those things so they know what it is and who you are, and we're moving forward. So you want to be engaged with your emotion and tonality. You want to state the state as much as possible. You want to have enthusiasm, obviously. You're taking them on a journey and you're conditioning them right from the beginning. Those okays are on purpose. So you want them to get into the habit of saying okay and following along your lead. We want to ask, so you're organically finding out if they have a checking or savings account. It is a requirement. So what is funny is 98% of the time, if they answer, do you have a physical savings or checking account set up at a bank or credit union? Yeah, I have Chase. Yeah, I have it. Those people buy it almost every time. If they tell you right off bat, yeah, I bank with such and such, then usually, and I usually laugh like, okay, gotcha. Because they're usually like, I promise at least, I don't know, I would say, no, I haven't counted, but 99% of the time those people are closed.
Do you get them often?
Sometimes.
25%.
It happens, sprinkles. It's just like a bonus, like, oh, okay. So I don't know how often it happens. It doesn't happen often. Sometimes it may happen back to back, but regardless, that's usually a good sign. Just keep that in mind. It's usually a good sign that they'll probably be willing, like, yeah, I got a bank account. What else? What you got for me? So, if you've ever been turned down. Okay, so smile with your voice. Some of the notes on here. You can, again, that's whole 57 years young or 79 years young. Ooh, you barely made it. But saying the years young, it's usually an easy way for you to make them smile right off the bat. So building a little bit of rapport is not bad in Mod 1, but what you, again, do not want to do is spend so much time building rapport or even let them go off on a tangent. If they say something that's interesting, you can, oh, that's wonderful, and you bring it back in. So acknowledge and pivot, and then go back to that in the rapport build. So I know you said that you, whatever it is, you are yelling at the dog, and then you bounce back to me. So what kind of dog is that? You want them to know that you're listening, you're paying attention, but you do not want to do that as soon as they say it. Because again, if they don't have a bank account or don't have the things that will require or allow them to move forward, then you've given that all that time for nothing. And also, if you let them take over in that moment, then again, you're not setting the authority in the call. You're letting them take over right off bat. When you are on cue, you are ready. This is a performance, so be ready to go. You are in control of the pace. So if they are in a hurry, you don't want to start rushing through it and trying to go fast, or you let them know this is really important information, and it's a process. Hopefully we can get you approved, but I want to get you this information. I'll be as quick as possible. You don't want to say this will be quick, but I'll be as quick as possible, but hopefully we can get you approved. This is a lot of really good information, and you move forward. Get the affirmatives, and then you move on. I did say that is a rhetorical question, the last question. And anything they say in Mod 1, we like to say is a lie. They don't know you. They don't trust you. Who knows why they're saying what, but you're just like anyone else on the phone. Until you build rapport with them, then they don't owe you anything. And we do not want to engage in back and forth conversation. So, casual confidence, greatness does not need permission. So having casual confidence is huge in Mod 1 and every mod of this script. You don't want to sound like you are anxious. You want to sound like, again, you are offering and have access and information about something that is beautiful, wonderful, magical, all of the above. So you want to come across as such. This is some really good stuff, and I'm going to tell you about it. I spent 2 weeks sitting in the class learning about it, so I can tell you about it. You want to be casually confident, even when it goes into the application, getting the information. You don't want to start sounding scared then, oh, you got a bank. You know what a bank is? No, you want to be casually confident about everything, because this is some really, really good stuff. So that is Mod 1. I know you guys are ready to break and to eat and to live and breathe. So it is 12:50, 1:30. Be back. Yes? All right. Questions, comments, concerns? All right, Miss Madison, we will see you at 1:30. If you need to call me or you have questions, I will be available.